Let the chaos reign. And now, a moment back in time. Chaos Reign presents Let's Talk About Contracts with special guest, the one and only Monika Lamb. Broadcast October the 21st, 2018. This is one of the classics. Have your pen and paper ready and enjoy.
The views expressed on Talk Real Solutions, hosted by Tyrone Thompson at TalkRealSolutions.com, are the views of Tyrone Thompson and do not reflect the views of TalkRealSolutions.com, YouTube, or etc. The content here belongs to Talk Real Solutions and its many contributors. Views and opinions expressed by all contributors belong to them and not TalkRealSolutions.com or Tyrone Thompson, the host, or etc. All data and information provided on the site is for informational purposes only. Talk Real Solutions makes no representations as to accuracy, completeness, correctness, suitability, or validity of any information on this site and will not be liable for any errors, omissions, or delays in this information or any losses, injuries, or damages arising from its display or use. All information is provided on an as-is basis.
In the world where there's crime, corruption, violence, rape, death, including murder, and all other forms of atrocities that plague the world, what you're witnessing, we are living in a state of chaos, and it'll take a greater or more extreme chaos to restore the order in which the world we live in today. Good evening, black people. This is Chaos here. Okay, Gary. Tonight, we're going to get down to some business. It's been a while since I talked about and brought some guests on economics, because I think one of the things we lack in the black community is how to operate in this so-called Eurocentric as capitalist world. And we feel, just getting a job and living paycheck to paycheck is good enough. But as we all know, as time gets harder, that is not the reality we see today. So I'm going to have my guests, and we're going to chop it up tonight. The number to call in for tonight's show is 515-605-9783. I repeat, 515-605-9783. Press 1. And one thing before I start my show, what you just listened to, if y'all didn't catch this broadcast, that was the beautiful voice of Miss Griffin, Marcia Griffin. When y'all go back to the recap of this, you can hear that wonderful track just to start off to get the mood nice, And another thing, 1 second. Sorry about that. I would like everybody to go onto the website, talkrealsolutions.com. There you'll find a 3-point plan for Black Empowerment and Black Achievement. Also on the 3-point plan, you also see a list of Black-owned established banks that still operate in the United States of America. I think it's still up to 30 still existing, maybe less. But the website will provide the information where they're located in the city near you. Also on Talk Real Solutions, you will see information on regardless of the latest news, and everything that needs to be found on the website is there provided. So check out the website, talkrealsolutions.com. Also, talkrealsolutions.com is also located on YouTube. You can find us here and all previous shows on YouTube. So check it out. Titled Talk Real Solutions on YouTube. And I think that's pretty much it. So, no further ado, let's start this party going. Make sure you have the 10 pads ready. As I introduce for the first time on Talk Real Solutions, you might know her on the Dagger Squad with Mr. Garfield Reed and all the other wonderful people that's part of the Dagger Squad, which is doing great things. So no further ado, I'd like to introduce you Miss Monika Lamb. Hello, Miss Monika. How are you doing?
Hey, T.R.S. How are you? And my name is Monika Lamb.
Okay, Monika. Yes.
That's my actual name. It's not a stage name or anything like that. But that's why most people say Mo. Because it's not mine.
Mo. Now we don't. Well, I don't mind. I was thinking of calling you Mo, but I said, nah, man. I'd rather call you by accident. But there's somebody also called Mo, and there's so many women called Mo now. When I think about it, I get confused now.
That's cool. That's cool though.
Yeah.
If you want to chop it up, I'm with it.
All right. Good. Before we go into our subject tonight, for those who are listening the first time, if you would like to take a step back before we take a step forward, you want to tell the callers tonight that's listening tonight a little bit about yourself, Ms. Mo?
Okay, no problem. A peace and love to your audience who are listening live and who may listen in the archive. My name is Monika Lamb. I'm originally from Louisiana. However, when I retired in 2016, I decided to stay in South Carolina because I had started some different business ventures here. My background includes, of course, I graduated from HBCU Voorhees College, and I've also retired from the United States Army. And upon my exit from the Army, I've worked as an auditor with the state of South Carolina, as well as internal audit with Book Rehab. So while I was working, I was thinking about retiring, and I got injured. So when I decided I was going to retire, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do and what I was going to get involved with. Somewhere in between that time, the 3-year out, the 2-year out, I ran into my brother from the Amara Squad, Uncle Cat, and Garfield from the Dagger Squad out in New York, visiting an event, and Unc had asked this awesome question, what are you doing for the community? And it couldn't have come at more perfect timing. And I thought about, I didn't have anything to offer at the time. However, he stayed on me about 3 or 4 weeks, and he asked the question, well, what do you do? And I told him what I was involved with auditing and a lot of things, financials and business. Like, why don't you teach community business? So as I thought about it, I got involved with small businesses, and specifically, I actually attended the SCORES workshops. Those are retired CEOs who come to give back to the community by offering their expertise. The Small Business, Chamber of Commerce, SBA, and a lot of the other federal services that are out there. And I noticed that our community, their weaknesses in getting government contracts were that they were unaware, most were unaware of the certification, and those who knew of the certification didn't really understand how to use it. And so I spent a lot of my time understanding the loopholes and the pitfalls that we fall into of not taking advantage of those. And so Although I have all of these different academic accolades and, participate in sports and everything I've done in the military, my last 3 years have really been involved with community work. And so although I don't forget my progress, sometimes I kind of put it on the shelf, and I like to talk about what I'm currently doing, which is very involved with the youth in the community, those who are transitioning from high school to college or the military, by offering a practice environment or a study environment for those people, as well as working with people who have a felony or misdemeanors and having a hard time with getting them expunged or pardoned, by offering them jobs that are actually hiring, and that's going to put a substantial amount of money in their pocket, as well as training them and encouraging them how to actually not necessarily manipulate the paperwork, but properly complete it so that they can get the pardons. And I spend a great deal of time on the Internet sharing information about how to properly put your budgets together so that you are ready for any audit that the federal government or private industry may give you, whether it's in grant or small business.
All right. Wonderful. Now, to the subject matter, government contract. For all the sayers that either know or don't understand, what are the pros and cons, or like I said, the myth and the benefits of going into contract specifically for the government or any workforce you go to, instead of, say, working like the wage job? I'm not sure there's a difference.
Oh, okay. So when we talk in terms of government contracting, we normally talk in business to government. So you're either so you could contract from a sole proprietor or a corporation perspective. However, when you get into, it depends on the type of services or goods that you're partaking in. So if it's going to be from a sole proprietor perspective, 9 out of 10, they're only looking for you to have to complete a W-9, and that means that your work is probably not going to be a high volume of work, and you're probably are doing something that's probably less than 3,000, because some contracts require it to be bidded out to more than one company. The government contracting that we talk about most often, you have to be a corporation, meaning that you need to file your EIN. So your EIN is normally filed with the IRS, and that they house your income tax returns for your business, right? And then your Secretary of State is where your business will be operating in. So the Secretary of State, to get incorporated, you're either going to get incorporated from articles of incorporation, articles of formation, or articles of organization, depending on the state that you are actually participating in. And that's saying you're able to do business in that state, right? And then you possibly will either have a business license based on the type of business that you may have. And then it goes further when you start getting into the federal side or the state contracting side business, you have to have a DUNS number and a SAMS registration. The DUNS number is where your business credit is housed, and it's not a government agency. Dun & Bradstreet is not a government agency, but it is where the government has entrusted this company to document your business financial progress. And the SAMS is where they issue you a cage code, which is where all your administrative information, everything about your business, who's responsible for making certain decisions, and SAMS synchronize the IRS and the DUNS, and you also put in your financial information, because when you get paid from the government, they look to SAMS to pull your information. So the advantages of doing business with the government, one is having a steady flow of revenue, right? So when you do business with, if you get a contract, 9 out of 10, if that contract is a year with 1 year, one base year with a 4-year option, that either every 15 days or every 30 days that you will get a steady revenue coming in. So when you're going after other business ventures when they ask you to see your financials and they see that steady revenue coming through your bank account, then that lets them know that you have the opportunity to either get a line of credit, you hear Garfield talks about that all the time, or some high-end credit card that they know you could pay based off their finances. That's an advantage. The second one is that you have the opportunity to hire your own community individuals, right? So, for example, we have 6 government contracts. We have one in Memphis. We do a lot of business with the VA because we are retired veterans. Not that we can't do it with other agencies. However, that's where our strength is. And so we have a wheelchair contract in Memphis, Tennessee. We have a wheelchair contract in Mount Holm, Tennessee, as well as a valet parking contract. We have a wheelchair contract in Louisville, Kentucky, and we have a wheelchair contract in Huntington, West Virginia. We also have a shuttle bus transportation contract in Columbia, South Carolina. So by having those contracts, we have been able to employ anywhere from 75 to 85 people. That's not just giving them employment. You know, they talk about the unemployment rate and how low it is. Well, most of those jobs consist of minimum wage jobs. When you get a government contract, you have the opportunity to give someone, based on the Department of Labor wage and determination, you have the opportunity to pay someone at least a minimum $10.20 an hour plus another $4.41 for health and welfare, meaning that person can get up to $14 off the rip, right? $14.60-something. Now, that's just base, right? Now, if that job, for example, what we do, just the wheelchair alone in Memphis, let's talk about the Memphis one. So the plus is that we hired everybody that works at Memphis contract, I want to say all African Americans, right? They are making $15.75 per hour plus the $4.41 or 13 cents because we pay them sick leave, right? So that's $19 and some change, right? A little less than 20. Most places that if someone else came in and did that contract, 9 out of 10 they're trying to pay them like $10. You have the opportunity. The greatest advantage is that you have the opportunity not only just to employ your own, but give them a fair wage. And so if you got it 1 year plus 4, that means 5 years. Someone can literally come up, and I'm not talking about individuals who has a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, or this high education. You could come straight off the street. No, probably we would like you to have a high school diploma, but even if you don't, if you have a driver's license, a good 10-year driver's history, we will hire you, right? The other advantage of having government contract to leverage is the fact that you get the opportunity to increase your net worth, not only personally, but from a business perspective. And so the more money you make, the more contracts you have, you come from out of being a small business into a large, where you're bidding on much larger contracts, and then you're able to not only hire your people, you could subcontract someone else who's also trying to come up in the world. Chaos, I can give you so many advantages of having a government contract, but I tell you some of the myths that are out there in reference to government contract is that the government rules your company. That's not true. We run our own companies. The Federal Acquisition Regulation is
Monica.
Go ahead.
Mo?
Yes.
Can you repeat
Yes.
that again? I think I didn't get that. Repeat that one more time. I gotta hear it one more time.
Oh,
it sounds
okay.
Yeah. One more time.
One of the myths is that the federal government actually runs your business if you obtain a government contract. That's not true. What it is that because you're held to accountability, and that's what people don't get, right? So remember, I said we have 5. I've been on the ground both ways. I've been the auditor, auditing small companies, and we're actually doing it, right? And so when you put a business together, people don't get the fact that you got to run a business. If I give you $5 million, KI, to go and run a transportation company, you're going to hire at least 15 people to run that company. You are responsible for paying those people fairly. You can't get a government contract and then say, okay, I know I'm supposed to pay them $19, but I'm going to pay them $16. You can't do that. So what people get caught up is that if that employee reports you to the Department of Labor and they come and run an audit and you didn't pay according to the wage and determination, you could pay more. You can't pay less, but you could pay more, and you didn't give them their proper wages, they're going to make you back pay. So people get upset about that because of accountability. The government don't come in. What they do is when you put out your proposal and you said I would have 10 vans and I'm going to hire 15 people, and these vans that I provide is going to be within 5 years they're not going to be older than 5 years, right? And we're going to show up. My employees going to show up in uniform with the company logo. They're gonna run transportation from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. I'm going to be able to make sure that people are on time within 15 minutes of their appointment on time. Guess what they're going to expect you to do? To do just that. You say, I'm going to provide quality service, quality customer service. I'm going to ensure that my vehicles are clean and they maintain. You can't come up there with some raggedy vehicles. You can come up there. There was a company, matter of fact, the company's trying to sue one of our people down. This company, when we took over the contract, that guy had a van. You know how you alter? You remember the old school vans that they had like the humpback at the top or whatever? Like the Scooby-Doo vans, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I remember those, yeah.
Yeah, he had altered those vans for wheelchairs, right? So when we come in and take over the contract, we come in with these state-of-art 2018 vans or whatnot, so he lost. So, he comes in and he tries to troubleshoot or cause chaos or whatnot, and we're like, dude, you ain't going to win just based off of your equipment. You cannot beat. So when people talk about the government taking over, is because you can't come in half-stepping. You got to be dressed. You got to be state-of-the-art. I could give you a contract right now. But guess what? If you don't know how to organize and manage, you're not paying people properly, your people looking all crazy when they come to work, nobody's not telling you got to wear your hat or way, this, that, or whatever. We're talking about professionalism here. You're not managing your money. You're not paying your bills. You got outstanding debt. You're not getting into the contracting world. Sorry, it's not going to happen. And that's why that myth is there that the government is trying to run. No, they're making sure that you are doing proper business, right? And so that's important. Even if you're not doing the government contracting, let's say we're doing business to business, business to consumer. Guess what? Who wants substandard service? Tell me. Nobody.
Not me. Not me. I'll take the upgrade.
And if you manage your money properly, guess what? If anybody has sat through any of my budget classes, I not only show you how to come up with your expenses, right? And everybody knows how to count their money. I got you. The question is, can you duplicate and sustain it? Can you, when you bid those contracts, instead of just trying to low bid 5%, 10% less than the previous contract, can you take that dollar amount, break that all the way down, pay your direct costs, indirect costs, your non-personnel expense, and add a markup, and within your markup, take a percentage of that, and while you have learned in our Brother African Emporium class where to invest your money, not only duplicate your net worth, but increase it to the point where you could self-sustain, manage it, run your business without you doing the work in your business. Now, that's just not power, that's right power. You could drop the bomb.
Wow, I've seen sometimes on social media and even on the other channel and how you explain it in that way, but when you go back and explain it and you hear it more than one time, it kind of sets well. Now, for most people that listen the first time, it might sound foreign to y'all for the first time. And I advise y'all to always go back to these broadcasts, you know what I'm saying, because certain things you will not catch the first time. You got to go by again to hear it, to get an understanding. And I'm actually learning a little bit more than expected, especially when it comes from the government sector, in regards to how people do contracts. A lot of people feel that the government's always going to be your business. And some black people are afraid to say, I want the government my business. Well, hell, you're operating commerce. You don't run the government here. I mean, I'm not sure what world black people think they are in, Mo. I just don't know. I mean, I think they live in a fantasy world. Like, you go just do what the hell you want. And I don't think you have to report back to the man.
Well, in the report, think about this. Now we're talking about business. When you think in terms of reporting, you're just reporting the fact that you said you're doing what you said you're going to do. Now, from an audit perspective, let me tell you how this works. Now, I've audited on the federal level and the state level. When we went in for audit, there's an audit called agreed upon procedures, right? We will go.
Yep.
We'll come into the company, and when I say agreed upon procedures, that means the procedures you put together.
I'm talking close to the mic. Mo, just talk a little closer. You sound low. Just talk a little closer.
That means those are the procedures that you put together, right? So we're coming in to see you doing your own check and balances, and do you believe people can't really follow that? So here's some fun facts, right? People can look up, right? When you get into contracting, there's some rules on the field, and this is where some people sometimes get uneasy. If you're the prime contractor, you're supposed to make sure, because think about it. Let's talk about construction. They're making, 30, 50 million, sometimes even more billions dollars, right? There's rules in place that those prime contractors have to take at least 30% of that money, and it has to be divvied out to small business, small disadvantaged business, woman-owned, service-disabled veteran, ADAP or HUD zone, that kind of thing, right? Well, those businesses, I'll give you an example right here in the Carolinas, at the University of Carolina, they got so many contracts, and they got cited for not having at least 30% of those contracts to minority businesses. You know what they say? They say, oh, we can't find none that's certified. No, that's not true. Nobody's holding it 55. This is where I differ between the 44 and 45 of presidentials, right? When 44 was in office, they put oversight in all of those different areas and made sure that those set-asides were being met, that when they gave out those contracts, that people were coming, they was holding them accountable so that the small businesses were able to get a seat at the table. Well, when 45 came in, they want to do away from the set-aside. Why? Because if a prime contractor, if a minority business is not a prime contractor and they can't get in that door, guess who all gets the funding? Not us. So we get the job where they pay us what they want because we don't know the rules. We don't know that we're supposed to get paid anywhere from $19 to $25 an hour. We just know that we need a job, and what we do, we get a job, right? Because we don't know that Department of Labor covers us, and depending on my job title is what I'm going to get. We don't know that if they have more than 50 people on that job that they're supposed to offer health insurance. We don't know that. Only thing we know is we got a job. So I'm able to look at it from both angles, right? If a service contract is involved, a small business prime contractor must pay at least 50% of that contract for personnel costs. We don't know that, right? So we think about IRS and filing taxes. The reason they want you to be accountable to the IRS, because if you make that claim and say, hey, listen, we're not even making enough. This person making this money, there's no way he paying 50% of his money to the cost of personnel labor or whatnot. Why? So what do you do about that? So when they do the investigation and they look into their tax returns and they see that their wage rate is way less than 50%, guess what they do? They pull the contract from that contractor. But guess what? We have to be ready to take that slot. If we're not ready to take that slot, then it's no good. You might as well just let them stay there and cheat you out your dollars, right? If you're doing drop shipping, like Cheryl talks about, small business prime contractors must perform work at least 50% of the cost of manufacturing supplies, not including the cost of materials, and those manufacturers have to be in the U.S. I give Trump I give 45 that credit, right? He wants to make sure that we buying from our people here, from the companies here, right? I agree with that because we need to keep our money on the ground, right? Then the general construction contract, the prime contractors must perform at least 15% of the cost of their contract to its own employees, right? Construction contractors they will sub their contractors out. So who? We already know who's doing the work on the side of the road. All you got to do is drive down the road and see that, right? It ain't a whole bunch of ushers no more. Right. So at least 15% is going to people of our own. The specialties of construction contracts, the small prime contractors must perform at least 25% of those. The cost of that contract is on the place. Same thing as with the regular contract. And then you got HUD, you got women contracts, you got disadvantaged veterans. So all of these particular set aside type contracts is there for our benefit. But here's the deal. Now here's the catcher. The contracts, there's what we call, you might hear people say disadvantaged businesses. When they talk about disadvantaged business or small businesses, disadvantaged businesses, they're talking about socially and economically disadvantaged. That means that business is in an area where socially the opportunity for them to increase their net worth is just not there, right? Economically, that means that they don't have the finance to compete on the same level as the prime, meaning they don't have the capital, right, in their bank account to buy the equipment, buy the supplies on their own, right? So that set-aside money contract is put there for those type of businesses, right? Then the service disabled veterans, those are the veterans who are disabled, who has been awarded by VA to work on their own. And then let me go back to the small business, the disadvantaged business. Anybody can apply for that particular certification to get a government contract, with the exception of a Caucasian male. So that means everybody under that umbrella, even a white female. So what has happened is that, okay, so the white guy says, well, since y'all want to play that game, all right, I'll just put my business in my wife's name. It only has to be 51% owned, and then I could take the 49%. But then guess what? So when you go out to get the certifications, what happens is they come out and they inspect. And when they come out and inspect, they're not coming to inspect and jam up the black person or the other minority businesses. What they're coming to do is see because the white person already knows all he has to do is make that person 51% or his wife or whomever 51%, and they take advantage and they run with it. Well, they come out to see, do you know the business, who's ever applied for those certifications? Because what has happened is the Caucasian male has partnered with the usages, but they run the show. They still running the show, and that's not right. Because why? Because we don't really know. We just want a piece of the pie. Okay, you want to come and partner with me? I do 51, you do 49 on paper, but you really running the show. So they take advantage of all of it, and we still get booted out. So contracting is, and that's why 45 want to take it off the table and say no certifications for contracting. Let it just go straight across the board, and if you win, you win. If you don't, you don't. Well, guess what? That's going to leave us in the dark again. And we have no play at the table, and that's why those certifications are put in place. That's one of the most important piece. If you get the 8 Alpha certification, that's the top dog in them all. You have access to what they call source government contracts. That means that a contractor, contracting officer can offer you a contract without going through a bid process. That's huge. But you only get 9 years in the program. And you get a project. That's why I like to teach it, because I tell anybody, if you're going to get into government contract, you need to sit. You really need to be paying attention to me on Tuesday nights. Why? Because you need to learn the lingo. You need to understand what we're talking about. You don't just need to understand that, they're giving me $1 million contract to go out and do this business. No, you need to understand what's going on. So guess what? When I talk about the different certifications and you get involved with them, you know how to capitalize on them quick, because the 9 years go by fast. I'm sorry, I get real passionate when we start talking about this because I'm real knowledgeable.
No, it's good. It's good. This is all the purpose. The purpose of this is to not only disseminate information, but to analyze it as a core and to explain it as clear as a baby will understand. Continue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yes, and I'm just running across something that says, terminology really does hurt a lot of people, and that's why they like to just say, well, I don't want the government in my business taking. The government ain't even worried about you. They just want you. I'm going to give you money. Because the reason contracts is in place is because if the government, think about this, if the government does the work, they have to pay people more. Why? Because the government is held to the higher standard. If they hire me to come in and do the work, they have to, based on my education, based on my years of knowledge, they have to pay me at least anywhere from 67 to 80, whatever thousand, right? Just base pay. Remember, the government pays more than that. Not only are they going to pay me base pay, they're also going to give me health insurance, right? They're also going to give me opportunity for retirement, right? So all of those fringe benefits, plus they're going to send me TDY for training or to go and train other people. So all of those fringe benefits is involved, and not only do they have to hire me, they may have to hire another 15 people, and all of that's on plate. Whereas if I take that same job and I give it to a business, now it's up to that business to include all of that in there. But one thing that business is not going to put in there is those freaking fringe benefits, right? And so because they're not going to put this in there, it's going to cost the government less to hire a business to do the work than them to hire the people themselves. And I think people don't get that. They think government contract is a catch-all, be-all to try to control you. No, the government don't want to pay the money. So they get you to do it for less. And you, on the other hand, you like, shoot, I'm making about $5 million off of this. When in actuality, it was going to probably cost them 15. And so, but like I said, you got to know business. And in order to know business, you got to be fair. And a lot of one of the number one areas that people fail at government contracting is that they give substandard work, they're unprofessional, and they don't pay people properly. And that's a wrap right there. Otherwise, you're in the business.
Okay. For people to know and that's calling or listening for the first time, hold on, make sure my mic's working. Okay, mic's working. Okay. This is Chaos Reign presents Let's Talk About Contracts with Mo Lamb. The number to call in for tonight's show is 515-605-9783. I repeat, 515-605-9783. Press 1 for questions and comments. And I will open the line when I see the numbers start, when people start raising their hands. The funny thing about even the contracts, we also teach about taxes as well. Mocha, right? As well?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, the issue with a lot of either entrepreneurs or people that's in contract, they don't know how to, file their taxes properly. Because I heard that every year, sometimes they change the laws of certain taxes. I'm not sure if you want to go in and explain that in detail for those who are not familiar on that side of the business.
Correct. And you're absolutely right. And as we know, couldn't have more perfect timing because there has been a new change. There's the 2018 tax reform that has just happened, right? And so as we know, in reference to business, it's going to favor business owners. Everyone should know by now 45 is about business. And so whatever happens, if it doesn't make money, it ain't making sense to him, right? And so from a business,
and let everybody know what you mean by 45. She's talking about good old Mr. Orange Tangerine, the Donald Trump, the ones that hate and discuss him. That's what she's talking about. Because you're using code language, Monica, so we have to break the code. So I want you to know what you talking about 45. All right, you may continue.
I'm sorry. Mr. President, right? We know he's a business person, and I'm not against business or whatnot, but we have to know how to leverage that and make it work for us. So you're right, taxes change all the time, and so you got to be up on the rules. So in particular, so let's just say this, all right? So at the minimum, if you are a sole proprietor or you own a home-based business, how does this work for you? How does owning a business work for you? Why does it work for you? And what is the best way that you can really hone in on this? Record keeping is the most important thing for business owners. Record keeping, right? So what I have noticed, and I can only speak on what I noticed because I work with a lot of businesses. What I noticed is people are you're so caught up with the work that you're doing, you don't do a great job from an administrative perspective, always say you either could hire you a college student or hire maybe your child if they're in the teenage years. You want to keep up with your expenses. Income is easy to capture because you get the deposits, money came in, right? It's those expenses where you could get those common tax deductions from. So what are some ways you can do that? Everyone already knows I'm in my econ, which is a personal financial success company. So it gives you the reason I joined that MLM. One is a home-based business, so I have a justification for taking advantage of some of the taxes. But the number one reason I joined is because they had an actual application that came with it, and it's called a cash flow manager. And that cash flow manager allows you to upload your receipts, capture your the data. So you got the dates from the simplistic way. I mean, the most simple way I could tell you for business and taxes. When you make a purchase, let's say fuel, right? I just went to Augusta this weekend for a business event, loving the skin I'm in. When I fueled up my car and I got that receipt, the first thing I do is I don't just ball it up, throw it in the trash, or don't take the receipt, right? Because this is about to be business for me. There's two things getting ready to happen. I'm going to take advantage of the actual expense for the vehicle, right? That's the money I paid in the fuel, the $40, right? Then I'm going to write on that receipt, and I'm going to put Loving the Skin I'm in event in Augusta, Georgia, from Lexington, South Carolina. I could actually put the mileage on there. However, because of my app tracks the miles, I don't really have to go that far. And I also have QuickBooks Self-Employed, and it tracks it as well. But I will put who I was with. And so my friend Chanisa Rolanisa, I'll put Chanisa's name and I'll put my name. I will initial it. I take a picture. I upload it into my cash flow manager. I put the date, how much it was, the same information I just mentioned, and guess what? I have just created a truck and car expense, a car expense category, and I've also created a mileage, right? Those are two expenses you get tax deductions from. So what people have to start doing is they have to come up with a record-keeping method. For me, it's the cash flow manager. It keeps everything in order and automatically produces my profit and loss statement as well as the mileage tracking document. I also have the QuickBooks Self-Employed app, and it does the same thing, right? So here are some of the things that you can take advantage of. It's your personal money. Most people just spend money on gas, food, entertainment. They drive everywhere, the cell phones, the internet, and that money goes out the window. No justification, no taking advantage of it. So if you make it $35,000 a year, you're probably spending at least 20 of it exposable income, right? When in actuality, that if you add up your cell phone bill, the entire 12 months, you add up your internet bill, the entire 12 months, you add up every time you go out to eat, every time you fill up your vehicle, how many miles you put on your vehicle when you participating in all these business events or you going different places, right? And just that alone right there, just those 5. Oh, advertisement, right? Maybe you purchase some office equipment. Just those 7. If you add up just that right there, you will probably have enough to itemize your taxes. And if you're itemizing, people will tell you take a loss in your business. The reason they're saying that, because if you make $40,000 a year and you spend $10,000 on you went in a whole $10,000 on your business, then instead of getting taxed on $40,000, you're actually gonna get taxed on $30,000. That just moves you from one tax bracket to. This is sometimes hard for people to get an image of if they're not looking at it. So what I would encourage you to do, as a follow-up to this show, I would actually cover the tax portion of business on my Tuesday class on YouTube, and you can go on to Brother Garfield Live YouTube channel, and you'll be able to see it from the PowerPoint perspective of what I'm talking about. But the reason taxes is so important from a business, a record keeping is very important, is because you just need to understand what part of your dollar what part of your dollar you would like to get back in your pocket. Many people just inflate their W-4 and say, girl, I'm already doing that. I'll just claim during a year or 6 months, I'll put 6 exemptions on my allowances on my W-4, and then the other 6 months I'll take them off and pay the government when I need to pay them. Well, that could be true, but guess what? Do you understand what the 6 even means? Basically, it's saying for every $4,150 times 6 is how much you need to itemize. Now, how are you going to do that? Well, you do that if you own a home-based business. All of those expenses I mentioned earlier, car and truck expense, interest, communications, mail and entertainment, travel, wages, depreciation, advertisement, professional legal expense, all that stuff on that Schedule C. All that money right there that you spend should suck up that $4,150 times 6. That's how you analyze that. That's the easiest way I can say it. For every allowance you put on that, or every exemption you put, is either allowances on the W-4 is exemptions when you file the tax. So for every allowance, when you fill out Block 5 on your W-4, if you put 1, 0, 10, 15, you're saying that you have enough exemptions to cover that. So when you get all your taxes back in your paycheck, you're saying at the end of the year, I'm going to be able to itemize that dollar amount. Only if you only put 1, you claim just yourself, then that means you need to be able to itemize at least $4,150 of your money based on the categories I just talked about. Because this year in 2018, there is no personal exemption. The previous years, you could claim yourself, any qualifying dependent, meaning you may be taking care of a parent or another adult if you pay more than 51% of their actual income or household expenses, or a child, right? You could claim those person exemptions. You can get away with that. Well, 2018, that's null and void, honey. No person exemptions. So that's $4,150 that you normally would get on the table. You don't get that no more. So you're going to, and all of your deductions have increased. So it used to be you had to itemize up to $6,000 if you were single. It's at $12,000, right? Used to be $12,000 if you had a dependent. Now it's at $24,000 married. You know, those types of things. But I would have to show you that on a PowerPoint. So the advantage of having a business is that you get the chance to have taxable deductible wages from your taxable income. And if you aren't able to do that, then you're going to be giving the government your money. And to be honest with you, Chaos, the IRS really don't want your money. They only want what's due to them. However, but because people don't know not that they don't know, let me back this up. They don't read. Most people hand their W-2s and maybe some receipts to a CPA or a tax preparer, and they say, here you go, and they hope for favorable outcomes. You need to understand that most CPAs don't really understand how to file taxes for home-based businesses. So they'll tell you, you can't file this, you can't file that. When in actuality, right there on the darn paper, on the Schedule C, it tells you that you can. Are you still here?
You are paying. Wow. It's a lot. Oh, God, this is.
It is. Oh, it's too much.
It is a lot. I mean, this is not. I mean, you just saying it out, and then me, I probably have to visually see it more. But hearing it,
you got to visually.
I mean, yeah, but like I said, it's good to let people know. That way, when they come to, like I said, the links or what you said, the people that, and mind you, for tonight, for serious people, that people that are starting business or inspired to do business or that, etc., you need to listen to this program tonight. And you might have to go to her links and page under Garfield Reed to actually see the process, because you know how our people are more visual than what they see in the written words. So you gotta show me and see how it applies, because you know a lot of people just don't get it. Sometimes some of this will go over their heads quick,
Yes.
And it also yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I said, and the reason it goes over because it's not a household conversation. Mm-hmm. And when it's not a household conversation, and what I mean by that is that unless you have you follow us, you on live streams, you see what people got going on, so you kind of say, oh, well, let me add this because, I heard them say something about this. Well, most people in the world, they're not talking about, they'll tell you to start a business, but they're not talking about the benefits of it, right? Or they say, save that receipt, and you'd be like, why, right? Or you say, oh, you can take advantage of mileage, and it'd be like, okay, so what part of those mileage can I take advantage of? So, for example, if you're going from home to a regular job, you can't deduct that. But if you're going anywhere other than that, the regular job or the second job, you could do it. So if we were right now, if you and I right now, let's say we were at Panera Bread, right? You drove from your house to Panera Bread. I drove from mine and back. And we're talking about business. Guess what? That round trip mileage. So if it took you 25 miles to get that 25 back, that's 50 miles. 50 miles times 54 cents. How often do we go places?
Wait, let me do that. Let me do the calculation. Give me 1 second. Let me get my calculator. I like to see numbers. All right, so you say, let's say 60 miles, right?
Yep.
All right, hold on. I'm just waiting for my thing to pull up. There we go. Calculator, yes. All right, 60 miles times 54 cents, right?
54 cents, correct.
All right, 54 cents. I put a dot, 54. I got 32.4.
Correct, right? It's $32.40, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of your itemized dollar. So that's just one time. So think about it. So here's what I do, right? Once I learn what what can you claim, what not in reference to mileage, right? So that's if you do that's if you do business. So if you're doing volunteer, it's 54 cents a mile. So so every time, when they say carry at least 50 business cards with you a day, every time you talk to somebody about business, that mileage becomes tax-free. Tax deduction, right? That becomes a tax deduction trip. So every time you go somewhere, even you hand out your business card, you talk to somebody about business, guess what? Wherever you go, you should be tracking that mileage. Why? Because you can take advantage of that. So I just showed you. So let's say you drive all year round, at least 4,000 miles with business. So now do 4,000 times 54 cents.
Say that again, Mo.
4,000 times 54 cents.
All right, give me a second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, open back the calculator. 4,000 miles, right?
Correct.
All right. Times, how much cents?
54.
All right, 0.54. 2,006.
Yeah, $2,160, right? So
yep.
Look, now that's 2,000. So that goes towards your tax deduction. So that's abolished for the year, right? How much is your cell phone bill? Let's say your cell phone bill is $100 a month, right? So that's 100 times 12. That's $1,200, right?
Yep.
All right. Let's say your internet bill. Is $80 a month. So that's 80 times 12, right?
Mhm.
All right,
let me do that now.
Yeah, go ahead and do those.
I'm doing the math for you. All right.
Yeah, go do that.
80 times 12. You look at $960.
Yep. So let's say meals and entertainment when you go out to eat, and we still talking about business, right? Let's say you spend a month. Let's say you spend $75 a month. So 75 times 12.
Okay. Times 12.
Right. So
900.
you should have the miles at $2,160. You should have the cell phone at $1,200, internet at $960, and the meals at $900. Right?
Yeah. Let me write this on the board. Give me a second, because I like.
Yeah, write that on your board.
All right. And as people wait, The call number again is 515-605-9783. I repeat, 515-605-9783. Press 1. I'm here with Mo Lamb. All right, 2000 and was 160 was the first one, right?
Yeah, that was mileage. Make sure you write the words.
All right, the other was 960.
That was the internet.
Okay, and then 900.
Meals.
Okay, what else?
Cell phone was 1,200.
Oh, cell phone was 1,200. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just label this. Phone.
Yeah. Yep.
Meal is 900, right?
Correct. And
960 is, I think.
Internet.
Yep. Yeah, internet is fine. Internet. This is miles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What else?
And let's do advertisement, because if you do a business, you gotta have some business cards, right? So let's say you spend about $60 a month for some business cards. So that's 60 times 12. That's 720.
2 times 12. That's 720.
720. Yep. All right. So let's say professional fees. So let's say you get somebody to do your taxes, and they charge you $200. So that's $200.
$200.
All right.
Now, Tyrone, I want you to call in because you're in business, Tyrone. So call in, please. I want to make sure we're doing a good job.
Okay.
All right, go on. Next.
Okay. All right. And then you also could add in your taxes on your home. So if you own your home, you can include your taxes. So let's just go. Mine is only $730. So let's just use mine, $730 for your house tax.
730.
Correct.
All right, 730.
And vehicle tax, 600 and $250. Let's say vehicle tax. All right.
Wait, give me a second. Let me.
No problem. And add all of that up.
Yeah.
So for those of you who tuning in, we're talking about your itemized deductions and what you can claim when you own a home-based business.
What was the last number?
250.
And what's that for?
That's for your vehicle tax.
All right, vehicle tax. 750 was for what?
750. Oh, house taxes.
Okay, house tax. Okay, and 200 is I think. Oh, to pay for the guy to do your tax accountant.
Yeah, pay your accountant. Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm trying to. Yeah. Okay, let me make sure. Okay, I got it. So, anything else, or we could just calculate?
Let's see. Well, let's just go with this for right now.
All right. Now, mind you, what you see is just a subpart sample. So, as I calculate all of it, and 1 second.
Say it one more time.
No, I'm just telling people. Now we're going to add them all together. Okay.
Correct.
So,
what you got?
All right. So let me start with the biggest number, 2,160, plus 1,200, plus what's the other big number? 960 plus 900, 750 plus 700. 720.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, yeah, okay. And then next plus 250 and plus 200. And let me see what this all comes up total wise. You're like at $7,140.
Correct. So that's how much if you were on the home-based business and you actually tracked just this much, and we gotten up to 740, and I did this on the low end, right? Just this much in tax in business expenses. So you have to itemize at least $12,000 this year if you're single. So if we just roughly estimated this and we got to $7,000, just now there's about if you actually own a corporation, an LLC, and you're filing as a corporation, you could take up to 100 tax deductions. If you just own a home-based business, you're gonna get at least this group right here at a minimum, right? Which is 8 of them, right? At a minimum, you get up to 8, and this is how much. And so think about it. Tell me you don't spend at least $7,000 per year on this stuff, just this area right here. You may own a business, and you may only bring in about $3,000. Why? Because you're spending a lot of your personal money to make money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what. So let's do this. Now we got our expenses. That's $7,140, right? So let's say income.
Yeah.
So this is your expenses, right? That's your business. That's your expenses. Business plus some other of my stuff, right? Now let's say business income, because they want to know how much money you made, how much sales, how much did you bring in. And most of the time, a lot of people don't make a lot of money in business. They're really sometimes. Some people are in business just so they can take advantage of them tax deductions, right? So let's say you made $2,500 all year, right? So what you do is you subtract $2,500 from the 7140.
Now,
right,
you mean 2,520.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
2,500.
500. Okay, so that's 2,500. Okay, so you want me to track that by the 7, right?
Yeah.
All right, let me do that now. Give me a second. I gotta pull up my calculator one more time.
This is a crash course. I do it better on Tuesday.
Subtracted by 2,500, and I have $4,640.
All right. So this amount right here, you would have to. That means you took a loss, because remember you brought in less. Your revenues was less than your expenses, right? So when you take that $4,600 loss, so now remember we talk about home-based business, we talk about sole proprietors, right? So that means you're still working a job somewhere. So let's say you make $30,000. So you take $30,000 and you subtract $4,640.
All right, let me do that.
Mhm.
Okay, so I wrote down $30,000, right?
Yep, 3 and 4 0.
33,000 subtracted by $4,640. All I have left is $28,360. I mean, $360.
Right. And that means that now, okay, so if we were looking at this live, basically what happened was you got a loss in business. Now, instead of the government taxing you on $30,000, you're going to get taxed on that $25,000. You should have came out with like $25,000 and some change, right? And so that will put you in a different tax bracket, because the tax brackets are broken down to like 0, 15%, 24%, and so on, right? So your objective in owning the business is to lower your taxable income. So you took a loss, the less money you make, the loss subtracts from your taxable income, which puts you in a whole different bracket. So basically they're saying you took a lot of your personal money to stimulate the economy, so we're going to reward you from that. So instead of taxing you on the $30,000, I'm going to tax you on $25,000. And that puts you, instead of taxing you at 25%, I'm going to tax you at 15%. That's a whole nother ball game. And so when they talk about owning a home base, when they talk about owning a business, they're saying, okay, you're helping the economy. You're putting money back into the economy. So we're going to help you out, right? But if you don't do any of that, and all you do is work and come home, get 1 million jobs, guess what they're going to do? And you don't have any deductions, anything that you're stimulating the economy with, they're going to say, oh, okay, since you ain't doing that, let me go get my 15.3% from you. Or let me get my 25% from you. I'm gonna get it from you anyway. Since you ain't gonna help us out, you ain't gonna help nobody else out. I'm gonna go get it from you anyways, and that's why people end up paying more taxes. And what happens is people are decreasing their increasing their W-4s because they want their money back at the time they get paid, but they don't realize at the end of the year, in order for that to balance out, you would have had to own a business to help you out, to decrease it so that you won't have to pay them taxes back. And you don't necessarily, that's why President Trump, when he says, I don't pay taxes, that doesn't make me, that doesn't make me a bad person, it makes me smart. Why? Because the tax code allows him, because he owns businesses. He owns assets. They put their money in assets, cash producing assets. Their money is caught up in stocks and bonds and real estate and mutual funds and things of that nature. So guess what? That stuff is not taxable as long as that money is housed over there, but does it still increase that net worth? Yes. Right? And so if you're owning a business, your money's still in business. Like our CEO, one of our CEOs, Mr. Ivy, he says, me and my wife, we make a lot of money, but we own our business. So guess what? I also pay myself a salary. And instead of trying to pay myself $70,000, $80,000, I pay myself $25,000. Guess what? I own the business. The money is still mine. So when I file taxes, guess what I'm still getting? Because when I do my taxable income, I'm less than $16,000. I'm getting earned income. How many people you know, how many sisters and brothers for that matter, will quit their job so that they don't make a certain amount of money so they can still qualify for earned income? When all they have to do is own a home-based business, and you're still going to qualify.
Wow. It just shifts from what we consider, you coming up. Like I tell people, we leveling up. We trying to get out that poverty mindset. You know what I'm saying? We stepping up in life. We about to be the Jetsons. We're moving all up. What?
Really, man.
I tell you, listen, T.R.S. Now, y'all know when I do this shit, I do this shit hard. All y'all other guys that do shows on this, I got brag. When I do other shows, yeah, I might fuck around a little bit, but when I get serious, I want to deal with money and business, I'm on point. Fuck what you heard. All right? I know this is like when adults listen to it, they go say, so I don't give a fuck. Y'all need to hear this shit. Y'all watch Love and Basketball. You watch hip-hop. You watch these news shows. Hell, y'all even watch Scandal, for all we know, if it's still on TV. And I don't watch cable no more like that. So I say, learn this shit. Shit. Real talk. Now, let me see what the time is. We're in the halfway mark of this show. If y'all guys have questions now, raise your hand now, because we're not going overtime in like another 48 minutes. But let's continue, Ms. Mocha, as I wait for people to start raising their hands, hopefully, because, people are listening, they're not raising their hands, they're learning, which I like that. Silence, you know what I'm saying? Because, black people, they have attention issues, and when they hear about money, it's like they're afraid, like they run away from money. They don't like to hear about ways how you can really come up. But shit, they like the problem. They like the drama. The fuckery. Hell, they even talk about, if you notice, Miss Mocha, they were talking about Kanye all week. But forgot Kanye is a fucking millionaire and potentially is probably a billionaire now. You know what I'm saying? And we don't understand what is these men doing or women doing different that we are still in the hole. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we could talk about Donald Trump all we want, but we got to understand this man is actually a businessman. And there's no way in hell a man that goes bankrupt 8 or 9 times and still be able to do business. He's doing something very much right.
Well, listen. Now let's talk about the bankruptcy thing. Most people who go bankrupt, they're not going bankrupt because they ain't got no money. 9 out of 10, they freezing up them dollars because they don't want somebody to get them. So what they do is they'll file the bankruptcy. The bankruptcy will consolidate most of their debt, drop off some of that debt, and they'll be confined to like one fee. So if they was in jeopardy of losing some assets, now they won't lose because now it's closed up into bankruptcy, and instead of them paying $5,000 a month in expenses, they pay $3,500, and they still get to keep their assets. So think about it. he may be filing. I mean, he may have filed bankruptcy, but I bet it wasn't because he was broke. I bet he was trying to get out of some business deal or maybe some lawsuit or somebody taking some type of asset from him. Cheryl talks about this a lot. Just because somebody filed bankruptcy don't mean they're broke. They trying to get around something. I had a family member. He would go out and he would buy high-end quality cars, like luxury cars, Jaguars, Mercedes, things like that. And when it got down to a point where he didn't want to pay no more, like if he didn't want to pay the high note no more, he would go file bankruptcy. Guess what happens to the note? It drops.
It drops.
Guess who gets to keep their car? He does. So, you know, we got to watch how we look. See, Unc says it's like, we got to start thinking from the B side, we got to think from the A side. There's a lot of terminologies that they use in the business world that we just not knowledgeable of, and it has a negative connotation, when in actuality it's really not. It's playing in their favor. So think about it. If they're filing bankruptcy and they still in the public eye, then them folks ain't broke.
Exactly. Exactly. And no one really question that. And say, hold on. If this man does so many times, how the hell does this man got a jet? How he has a business still running? All this stuff? I sit there at the end and say, no, they doing something right. Because the average black person is afraid to get into certain things because, you know, America puts a certain stigma in the mindset of our people in this country for such a long time. And you know what I'm saying? As long as we keep out uncompetitive, we're not in the game at all. We are shut out, completely out of the game because of the sheer fact that we not understand that to be out of competition, you got to take out the competition. So how you do it? Simple. By keep miseducating you niggas. We're going to keep.
Well,
we're going to apply the pressure. We're going to keep apply pressure because the nose said you're not going to do nothing to really make that drastic move to change.
Yeah.
So we supply everything for your subsidies to keep you in that state perpetual slavery. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
but go ahead, you were about to say something?
You definitely said something key, making the position to change. When I got ready to think about, you know, what I was going to do, how I was going to do it, and I chose the field that I wanted to go in, which was accounting. The reason I chose it because it was a field that you can go in and you could do anything. The reason I chose to be an auditor because when I realized I wanted to do things with business, because I sat back and I was like, let's take some of our neighborhoods for instance. If you drive through some of the neighborhoods or you drive from one end of town to the other, you see the type of convenience stores, grocery stores, food facilities, things of that nature, right? And we already know it's an imbalance, right? But sometimes, you know, in your neighborhoods, you know, they'll start to build up some things and they'll start to change, which we call in gentrification, right? What some of our people don't realize, those corporate people got a responsibility to your community. They come in, they're getting money from the government to come in there. For everybody, I take just our area in the Carolinas, for instance, because I'm here and I know the rules. So for everybody that gets hired in these jobs in your community where they really don't want to be, they're getting $1,000 tax deduction per person.
Wow.
I wonder why you should open a business again. Listen, when we started the call center, the reason I target social service work people who were on assistance, because I know that if I pay, let me just give you an example of why this works and why. Government contracts, it goes well further than you just getting a contract, honey. It's understanding some of the benefits when you're doing business with government. That's why I say business to government contracting. If I would have did the contract, if it wasn't for those characters or some of those people, I would have pursued it. And it's still not off the table. I just got to find a way how to deal with them. So it was two things I went after social service workers. The first one was, and anybody can go in any state and they can see this and they can fact check this, that The first one was the work experience program. So if you're getting a certain financial assistance, it's mainly females that get these assistants, then they have the opportunity to do work experience with a company that's planning on hiring them, and they get paid a little extra from social services to participate, and in turn get free labor, so to speak, right? And then you can hire them later. Okay, so that's one side of it, right? The second side was they have what they call on-the-job training, where if it's two things with on-the-job training. The first one, you have to pay. This is in particular to this area, so the wage may be different in another state. But in Columbia, South Carolina, if you hire somebody on the job training contract, you have to pay them at least $10 an hour. So guess what? Not only will you get the $1,000 tax deduction per person you hire, they give you back half of the money you paid the employee. So if you pay them $10, really 5 of those hours you're going to get back. Hear what I just said. The second location is your work.
Wait. You know, I like to do this again. Can you repeat that one more time? That just sounds sweet, Monica. I'm learning. It's not going out the other ear. It's staying in my ear. You know how when you hear some information, it goes one ear and it goes out? I need to hear this one more time, please. Right. This is some real preaching here. One time.
So the caveat to government contracting is this: when you hire your own people, you can go to agencies such as Social Services and the Workforce Commission, which is usually the unemployment office. The reason you go to them, start with Social Services first, is that if you work with their on-the-job training program and you hire a participant, you get $1,000 deduction per person. That's on the wages. And the second is that whatever you have to pay them at least $10. So if you pay them $10 an hour, they will give you back half of that money that they work, right? So if you pay them $10, they're going to give you $5 an hour back from that person. So you get the tax deduction, you get the $5 back. For our Workforce Commission, the unemployment office, they have the same type of program. On-the-job training program is housed under the WIOA program, which is the Workforce Innovative Act. Their Innovative Opportunity Act. Theirs is $13 an hour, and they give us half of that back, plus you get the $1,000 tax deduction. So the point we're trying to make that the government contract gives you a steady revenue in your business. Partnering with agencies to employ some of those people in your community that need this opportunity, not only will you put more money in their pocket, the government would give you half of the shit back. So when you wonder why these folks are when you have these companies at your unemployment office doing training and going to hire people or whatnot, you think they just doing it because they like you? No, they are benefiting. Not only did they get the damn contract to pay you, the government giving them some of the money back. Oh my God. I don't know if they listen to it.
Here's what I know. We tell people this. If y'all know, when did the employment rates, if people want to look at the history of when people get a wage, it's been gone far back now for 123 years in counting. Because back in the late 1800s, no one didn't get no wage work. They implement that for, before what we've gone into the 20th century for a purpose. Because they noticed that they set up people to work, get this little education, work for somebody. And the people that they hired, they get all the benefits and the tax break, including when they hire you, they get that in tenfold.
Thank you.
So it benefits them, but never benefits you. That's why when you look at most black people, and we're only going to talk about our people, we can't talk about everybody else, that when you work a job, and we got to be honest as race people, your income and how you can scale is capped. Now, because of the innovation of technology, internet, digital, and all that good stuff, that you don't have to stay on a cap now. There are many ways to get this residual income. So if anybody that's smart, that's black, male, female, listen to this message good. You niggas, listen to this good and listen good and well. You got to find ways to scale the fuck up. They are capping your ass. Admit you work any job. You are stuck. If you only make a 40K, that's all you're going to make. You're capped. While they're not capped, there's no cap for them. Continue.
And you know what else they do? You know what? And I'm glad you said that. You know what else they do too? On your retirement, they people don't pay attention to it because they're like, oh, I got my 401k, or I got this. They don't pay attention to that. Once you get to the match of what they're gonna pay, you're not making any more money on that. So why are you still putting your money into the plan? You need to move your money somewhere else. The other thing is that, okay, so a lot of times when we talk about government contracting, people want to jump heads in. And the reason I tell people, listen, learn. When you're on your job, here's the deal, especially when getting into residual income. People in my age group have either been on their jobs 20 years, and if you're in the military, you can come out into retirement. 2, if you're in the state government or private industry, you're going to wait another 8 years, right? So anywhere between the ages of 47 and 48, you at retirement, right? No, this would be in normal circumstances, right? We're not talking about people who bounce around jobs, do all that crazy stuff, and not moving around with a purpose, right? Because nobody didn't really tell them, right? So at 28, 47, 48, right? At this point, if you retire from that job and you go get another job, you're competing with recent graduates, college, high school, all that great stuff, young people, innovative people. So at this point, you don't want to be looking for another job. You should have been drafting up your business plan, how you're going to do business. And because you should have become a subject matter expert in your field, you should be doing one or two things, because this is crazy open right now. You could either you understand recruitment and how to recruit talent for companies. Remember, I said before, the reason that a lot of us are not winning because we're not getting involved with government contracting, because they're paying our little butts up because we just want a job. When our kids get out of school, if they haven't been properly educated on the workforce, they just go and get a job. Guess what? Those recruiters are out there to make sure they get those kind of people. Because why? They're not going to come in and ask for fringe benefits. They just coming in because they need to work. The mama needs to tell them they need to get out of the house.
Exactly.
Right? They
just want to work. I just need a job. Just to continue in capitalism, to operate in capitalism.
Yes.
And before you continue, Mo, you niggas, if you find there's a problem with this information, you can call your black ass now on this fucking line. I just took a look at the chat. Don't sit there chat for nonsense. Call your ass in and correct the information. Continue, Mo.
Yeah. So when you get ready to retire, you should what you should be doing is getting yourself ready to either be a consultant or start a business in the area that you're actually working. So I showed on one of the shows this guy, he used to create some type of technical program, right, for companies when he worked for the company. And when he got ready to go out on his own, guess what? He opened up a business and he started selling those to all different type of companies. So he made $50 million. 50 million government contracting. $50 million in less than 3 years. Selling the same thing he was doing when he was working for the company. He started actually making a product on his own, making making programs for companies, and he started selling his programs to companies, to the government, and he made $50 million now. So he's not a small business anymore. He's classified as a large business, killing the game. And most people sitting around and they always say, "What am I gonna do after retirement?" Please, all that knowledge you have, you better sell your knowledge. You better start a business and be a consultant, or you better start a business and sell some services. Like, for real. The only reason I'm behind with mine is because. Go ahead.
But you have to understand, Mo, because, and this is the danger of integration, again. What it's done, it made the Negro be now solely back dependent to the man again. And this was done by design. Because now, think about this. There are a lot of people now that work in correctional, work in the military for over maybe 20 years, or any field that, let's say, after you do this amount of time, you get this pension, right? A lot of people, what they do, most of the time, they go find other work or find other things to occupy their time. And I feel one of the issues we have with our youth that we don't really train we don't do for ourselves, but with our young ones that's going to be adults, is to try to gravitate what they're good at and to really build a sense of purpose. Because one thing what this system does, it perpetually keep you dependent on them, you know, and so you cannot survive without them. And for you to have any purpose, you must always give your time, energy to them instead of give time, energy to self. You know, I hear enough old people right now that's baby boomers that retired. It's not enough for them to even decently retire. So if they have a struggle now in retirement now, what do you think the future holds for you, me, Mo? We're not nowhere close to retirement for like another 20, 30, hell, maybe 40 years.
Well,
you know?
Okay, I've already retired.
So that means if we're not getting it now,
yes,
we're going to be seriously fucked in the coming decades.
And you know what?
Seriously fucked.
Because you know why? What I talked about is that when you remember what I said when I was getting ready to retire the military, 3 years out, I already knew I was going to have to come out, right? When I started thinking about those ways and what I could do, I start honing in on the stuff that I knew. So if you ever listen to me, I don't talk about stuff that I don't know, and I talk about stuff that I'm involved in right now. And what happens is that most people sit on their jobs and they just do the work. They don't capitalize on what it is they're doing. Let me tell you, when I got ready to read, child, I took all policies and procedures from the United States Army, all policies and procedures from my state job. You know why? Because I knew that I was going to be working with businesses, and I wanted to look at stuff that actually had worked and was legal. So I didn't have to be I didn't have to major in HR, human resources. Only thing I did was went to the human resource policies, pulled their stuff, read up on it, see what I could take and use to design somebody else's business. Why? Because they already been proven. They've already been vetted, right? So if I want to look at confidentiality clauses and things like that, I got it from the job. If I wanted to make sure a timesheet was right, I got it from the job, evaluations, things of that nature. Because I knew that I was going to work with businesses. And when I went to work with businesses, I wanted to make sure those businesses were set up right. And when I did it, and that's why I would say, you know, you could talk about starting businesses and entrepreneurship, but no one would ever, you can't do it from the perspective that I do it. You know why? Because I'm doing it from a audit perspective. I want to make sure that when you start, that you are ready for the auditors. When they come in, I want to tell you, when you organize and put your business together, because when they come through the door, from the very first document that you started business with to the very last, they will go back to. When that bank account gets more than $10,000, trust me, they got their eyes on you. And they will go back. Let me tell you, they so nitpicky in the government certification process for government contracting, they will ask you, what is your initial contribution to your business? Most people wouldn't even think about going back to their very first bank statement. Just use that. Don't even try to think about it. My first deposit, $100. There it is. Personal money. They want to know where the money comes from. If you say I put 25 G's in my account, start my business, they want to know where that money comes from. Boom, they got you. Because now you think it's somebody troubleshooting. No, they're just trying to find ways to wean you out and make you think that you don't really qualify. So instead of you be like, I don't want to tell them where I got the $25,000 from. I'm just not going to get the certification. Hell, just tell them it's personal money. That's all. Personal dollars. Can they prove it's not your personal dollars? No, they can't. Something as simple as, well, your business is still in your house. You don't have a brick and mortar. Oh, they asked me about a brick and mortar. How much square foot? Well, where your computer is set up at? How much square footage of that house? What happens is, instead of us being honest and then allowing honesty to create the way for us, what we do is we fabricate the information. Oh, it's a 1,500 square foot office when you know darn well it's only 10 by 10. Ain't that serious? You know, just tell the truth. And so when we come out of the workforce, we should be teaching. It's okay if you're going to go into the workforce, but when you go into the workforce, go to understand how that business actually operates, and then go to start your own. Too easy. Remember, I said we had transportation contracts. You know why? Because the veterans that we work with, that work with us, they work freaking logistics in the military. Why do most used to work with it? Because I was finance and I dealt with auditing and I dealt with government contracts. So they know I knew my stuff. So what better people to have on your team is the people who worked in those areas. So the people who own stuff, we just started another the bigger trucks, transportation. I don't have no part in it. I do the accounting piece of it because that's my area. I don't go out and drive the truck. Who do we have? We have the people who got CDLs and understand the transportation business. So I don't have to know it. And that's the one thing about business. When people have to say, I have a friend. Let me tell you something. When I go down to Huntsville, Georgia, I was like, man, you have a beautiful beauty salon. Man, you must be the bomb diggity hairstyle. She said, girl, I'm not doing no hair. She's like, I built this beauty salon because I know everybody get their hair done. So guess what? I hired the stylist who does hair. Now, if I go down to Hinesville, guess what? They got the whole shopping center, Chaos. It's black owned. The whole shopping center. They got a My Econ spot for financial literacy. They have the beauty salon. They got dance studio because all the stuff that our people are involved in, they open up shop. They just organize and manage it. They're not the people on the ground. They hire people for that.
Wow.
So you don't have
Amazing.
when you own the business, you just got to have the idea. You find experts to do it for you, and then you treat them right.
That's all it takes.
That's what they do to us,
that's
right?
one thing we lack in the black community. We don't treat each other right because we don't respect self. And this is why black business stifle them in. You know what I'm saying?
Ain't that what they do to us? Tell us to go to college, get the degree, and they're gonna pay us this much?
Mm-hmm.
Most owners have no idea what's going on in their company. They hire the people who do know. Expect you to have integrity. Now, don't get caught slipping.
Oh yeah,
right?
Would that be your act?
Thank you. That's what we have to do. See, we want to be the worker on the ground. That's why we're not successful. I hire a press shop. If I'm selling T-shirts, guess what? I ain't got to be the person to go press the shirt. Hire somebody to do that for you.
Mhm. Yep. Mocha. Oh wait, let everybody know. I have 24 seconds left before we go into overtime. Calling now 515-605-9783. I repeat, 515-605-9783. Tonight's topic, we deal with contracts with Miss Monika Lamb or Mo Lamb. I have one card that's just ready to press one. Let's see what they have to bring to this conversation or questions. You ready, Mo?
Yes.
All right. All ones. May I ask?
Hey, what up? What up? This your boy Q. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Q?
Hey, how are you?
Hey. I'm good. So who is this? Who is the lady on the phone tonight?
Monika.
Miss Mo Lamb from the Diagram Squad. Yeah.
Mo Lamb. Okay. So
yeah.
as I was sitting here listening in, I absolutely agree 100% with her. 100%. And she's absolutely right. First of all, what we must do is understand business. That's first and foremost. We got a lot of people that are going out here getting these business degrees, and they're coming out, going into the workforce, managing businesses for other people.
You mean what do you call MBA?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They're going out here getting their MBAs, yes, and they're getting their MBAs, and they're managing businesses such as McDonald's, Walmart, Sears, and all these other large corporations instead of thinking in terms of owning and operating their own businesses. Like she said, understanding how to work the system from the inside out, gaining the knowledge when you're in a corporation, and then taking that information and setting up your own corporation, because we have to first understand, well, if it's successful for them, then why can't I do it? Why can't I use that same model that they've used and use it for myself? A lot of times we don't think like that. Like she said, we've been taught for the most part in the black community, go to college so you can get an education, so you can get a good job, so you can have a good life. That's what we've been taught. We haven't been taught, hey, why don't you think about entrepreneurship and going into business for yourself? I just listening in, I absolutely agree, because that's something that I did when I got ready to leave the military. I did the same thing. And now, I work for I work for a nonprofit organization. But the problem is, here's one of the problems. You got people in today's society, when they look at jobs like that and saying, okay, being a police officer today, or being an attorney, a prosecuting attorney or whatever up to date, they don't understand the value in those things that we could bring back to our own community. People have a tendency now, because of what's going on, to say, oh, that nigga's a coon, or yada, 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 because of what that person does. That's not who that person is. That's the job that I do. That's not who I am. So now, when I take the training, when I take the training and the knowledge that I have, and I apply that back to the black community, and I'm able to teach self-defense, I'm able to teach weapons training, I'm able to teach all of these things, discipline, how to take care of business as far as security within our own communities. Now it's a value, it's an asset. But had I never gone that route and spent 22 years there, I wouldn't understand, as Sarge likes to say, defense perimeters. I would never understand these things. And there's going to be a point in time when all of this stuff is going to be valued. I wouldn't understand self-aid, buddy aid, if the need should ever arise. You understand what I'm saying? So I agree with what the sister was saying 100%. We need to be able to go into these businesses. You get a foothold. If you retire, fine. If you don't, fine. But remember to bring that knowledge and that resource and put it back into the community.
Correct. And from your point that you just made, one of the contracts that just kind of creeped up that just kind of went over my head for a minute is security for natural disasters. Big,
right.
Okay.
Big right now.
Huge.
Big.
It's huge.
Because of what
It's
happened
huge.
during Katrina, Harvey, when they was raping those people and hurting those people in the dome and all of that, getting people out to do so they got cleaning and all that stuff. And when I see security, I was like, oh snap, they done snuck up in a whole nother genre of things, right? So to speak, for lack of a better word. And so a lot of, like I said, most of those particular career fields, 20, 28 years, you got to come out of that. And so instead of just going and be like, you know what, I'm just getting me a little part-time gig, this and that. Why? You got to go start a security company, go get your home guards, and go make this money. At least from July to November, you could pat somebody's pocket.
Right. Yeah, absolutely right. So here's another one that a personal friend of mine kind of brought to my attention. Right now, they're accepting people to go and learn how to do insurance claims in Puerto Rico, in all these disaster areas. And they're paying these people money, big, huge dollars. But what happens is, oftentimes when you tell people that, oh, you working for the white man, you working for the government. Nigga, if the fucking government is going to, if the fucking government is going to allow me to work as an independent contractor and pay me between $7,000 to $10,000 a month to go to Hawaii and do insurance claims, okay. But see, we don't think like that. We don't take from the opportunities that's out there for us because we're too busy on worried about what the government's doing and what people looking down on people. Right now here in Texas, they're offering people, check it out now. Just check it out. They got jobs for young men and women, and they're actually paying for you to go and get your CDL license.
Yep.
You don't even have to be a high school grad, and they're starting these people out at $60,000, $70,000, and $80,000 a year based upon your experience.
Mm-hmm. And you know what?
We're not. But see, here's the problem in that. We black people, by and large, are not taking advantage of that.
Nope.
We're not. We're sitting there and then we get mad. We get mad because, well, for one, and this is not a knock to anybody who indulges in extracurricular activities. For one, we don't want to put down, the substance that we use.
Talk about it.
That's becoming that's becoming a huge epidemic within our society, within the black race. It's becoming huge. I volunteer with the at-risk youth program, right? And that's one of the things that we do. These young men that are between the ages of 12 and 18, and then half of them have dropped out of high school. Half of these kids have no plans, no future to go on to obtain a secondary education. So we look and we find all of these jobs that will say, hey, okay, if you've been in jail, if you have a whatever record or whatever, we're willing to work with you so that you can get back into the workforce and become a productive citizen. You know that out of the 183 kids, young men that I work with, only 47 of them have gone on to take advantages of some of these programs. 47. You know what the bulk of them will say? Oh, I'm hanging out with my boys. I just want to, I'm just trying to get lit. And I have nothing against that. I don't have anything against that.
Y'all have so much money in Texas. We've gotten several, that's Sheriff's Stomping Ground, several entities. Y'all Workforce Commission offers small business contracts for employment training or helping people get jobs. I mean, handing out money like candy down there in Texas. Cheryl had gotten one lady $5 million contract to do some leadership trainings in school. Do you know she didn't do not 1 year of the contract? That'd be $1 million per year. She did nothing. Nothing. Easy money. There's a lot of money in Texas. I'm gonna just tell you that right now. They giving out that WIOA program, which is in every state, housed at the Workforce Commission office. If you're between the ages of 16 and 24, they will pay for your certifications to go to school. That's welding, truck driving, phlebotomy, medical, DNA, all of that stuff. And if you are a veteran, they have money for you. Like, if you're a dislocated worker, they got money for you. It's like the brother just said. How people don't want to take advantage of it.
Do you know that Dallas has become
Q.
Dallas?
Q.
Yes.
Hello, Q.
Yes.
Somebody else raised their hand. Let me take this caller. I want to just go for the lines. So just sit back. All right. All once. May I ask who I'm speaking to?
Hey, what's going on, man? This is Alquan.
Okay. So what you got in store, Alquan? What's on your mind?
Oh man, I was just listening, watching this game at the same time. A lot of what you guys said, I kind of agree with. Is this the Monika Lamb of the Dagger Squad?
It's Mo.
Peace, love, bro.
Hi, and is this the one that also moderates on Sonetter's platform or channel?
Get to the point.
Trigger Happy?
Alquan, man. Oh, relax, Mo. You have a question, brother? This ain't no interrogation.
Hey, I probably
my man. Let the callers ask the questions at their pace. Can you do that, please?
No, you're asking a bunch of questions about something that's off topic. What's your question?
I didn't even ask questions. I'm just trying to confirm whether or not this is the person that I'm talking about.
You need to confirm, man. This is a guest.
How you gonna tell a caller what they need?
Go ahead, caller. I'm good. Chaos. I'm good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Right. Go on.
Okay.
Go on, man.
Okay, and this is also the Dagger Squad with that Jamaican Garfield, right?
That's right.
Oh, okay. All right. So what you said sounded good, but when it comes from Garfield's mouth, for some odd reason, I interpret it as a scan and a con. Can you please help me try to understand how come when it comes from his mouth, things that you guys promote sounds like a con, and in particular with the credit repair thing, because
okay.
It's really hard to truly repair credit.
Okay, so when we talk I'm gonna give you my interpretation of it, okay? Because Garfield can hold his own, but so here's the deal. So when you're doing credit repair, you can't, according to the regulations, you're not supposed to charge people up front for credit repair. However, you can take a fee after you have provided a service. Most people who do credit repair, they will educate you on the credit repair or have you use some type of application to do your credit repair and walk you through it. So when Garfield is doing credit repair, if you really notice, Garfield will tell you to subscribe to Privacy Guard, which is a company where you could go and you could pull your credit report. So which means he doesn't ask you for your social, you actually put it in yourself. Now when you're doing credit repair, we know that if your debt is legit, your debt is legit. But the way the system works is they're operating off of these 3 bureaus, right? So meaning that a financial institution, you do business with a financial institution, they report. So let's say you got $1,000 credit card, they report it to the credit bureaus, one of the 3, Expedient, Equifax, or TransUnion, and based on how you actually pay that, it monitors your credit based on whether you paying on time or your card is less than 35%, right? And so basically, one of the things that happens is that people move around, they get different addresses. So one of the ways to kind of clean up, to get your points to go up, you can remove all the addresses in your credit report, and most likely those debts that were tied to that address, they will go away. Now, do you still owe the money? Of course, in most cases you do owe the money, but what people are doing is that they're just removing the negative connotation from their report. And when you do, and because they're only looking from a systematic perspective, it allows you to have this particular score that they've created out there where you could go and get lines of credit, that kind of thing. What Garfield is trying to relate is that if your credit report, if your credit score is pretty decent, you have the opportunity to apply for lines of credit as opposed to going for bank loans. Most people, I'm talking from a business perspective, most people when they get in business, they want to do business, they want to go get a business loan, when in actuality they should be applying for the line of credit. Why? Because that's revolving. The business loan, once you pay it off, you got to get it again. If it's a line of credit, you can pay it and continue to use it over and over and over. So when he does the credit repair, for every line that comes off, he charges like $25. Now the other side of what he does is trade loans. Now you don't have to use Garfield services to do trade loans. You could become an authorized user. Let's say your girlfriend or your wife has a credit card and she does her thing and she pays it up on time and in good standing, and she allows you to be an authorized user. Well, by her having a great line of credit, and you put that on your account, you guess what? That boosts your credit score by being an authorized user. They sell authorized users, but the authorized users that Garfield is selling, people have given permission to actually do that. So it's not really a scam because someone has given you permission to do it. Where it would become a scam is that if you actually if you pay them for it, never get the line of credit, the line on your credit, then you do look crazy because then you took money and you didn't really benefit from it. The other side is that we are part of my econ, and my econ offers its own credit repair system that gives you all the letters and everything that you actually need, and you could actually do it yourself. But what happens is most people don't want to do their credit, fix their credit themselves. Even if you tell them how to pay off the debt and how to income shift to pay off their debt, they don't want to do it themselves. I just had a new team member that joined my team about 3 weeks ago, and he was like, man, I've been putting all this information on credit repair, but people don't want to do it themselves. They want me to do it, so how should I handle that, Monika? I said, well, it's one or two things. You could come up with a way where you just show them how to do it and train them, or if you charge them, you cannot charge them up front because that's against the regulations. You could provide the service, and then you could charge them based off of what you actually done, but you can't charge them for credit repair. That's illegal. So you got to watch use the words. Go ahead.
All right, I'll accept that as a now, but since the host is acting hostile, I won't go any further. But I'll just say this: on Farnetta, when you're on his channel moderating, you got to stop being so trigger happy, man. Let us critique. You know what I mean? And spread that word around too. but it's critique. You know, just because we disagree, that doesn't mean that we have to disappear. You know what I mean?
Well, you're going to disappear because you're not the moderator on their show. So if they want to block you, saying that's their business.
Come on, man. Stop puckering up, Gary.
No, I'm being real here because you're up here telling someone what they should not be fucking doing. If they want to block
I didn't tell.
I'm
making a suggestion. That's what I'm doing.
That's still telling. Anyway.
If you
anything else, Aquan?
Okay.
Nah, man. Obviously, you're in one of those moods, so I'm done tonight.
Don't be messing with the boy.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, man.
So,
we got 6 minutes left. I
Uh-huh.
gotta get the call number. We have 6 minutes left. Calling out. We're going overtime in 6 minutes. The call number again is 515-605-9783. I repeat, 515-605-9783. Press 1 for question and comment. And for the subject matter for people that's listening, it's titled Chaos Reign Presents. Let's talk about contracts with Monika Lamb. All right, what's your question, Q?
Well, I didn't have a question. I just basically had a comment to add on the credit situation. So, we as black people have information at the tips of our fingertips, but we choose not to do that. If we want to know where a party at, we can go on Google, we can go online, we can use all these resources to find it. When if you want to know about credit repair, you can go online and you can find it. You can go to Equifax, you can go to TransUnion. You can go to all these websites, and they give you, if you really, really go into the website and look, they tell you exactly what you need to do. And they tell you the rules, the laws that apply to like credit and how to get something removed. They actually explain it to you. If you go to the Better Business Bureau, it'll tell you that a debt can stay on your credit for no longer than 7 years. That's the federal law. So, case in point, I'll give you an example. Back in the day when I was going to college, before I left and went to the military, and that's a different story. When I was in school, they were on campus. Now, I knew about credit and I knew about credit cards, but I was a young, fly guy and just, out there doing my thing. So what happened was they had Discovery. They had got some students to set up these little tables, these little booths for giving away $5,000 to college students as long as you could provide a college ID, stating that you were a full-time student. They would give you a credit card and a credit balance of $5,000. Well, me being who I was, I got this credit card and I ran it up. I'm buying all the shit and eating pizza and all this other stuff, doing this wild shit. And then I ain't worried about it. I was like, oh, well, I ain't got no job. I can't pay it back. Yeah, okay, whatever. The Discovery card stayed on my credit report, man, for damn near, and I'm old. I'm an older guy. It stayed on my credit report up until I was 42. I did that at 20. Yeah, I did that at 19, 20, because I didn't know. I never checked my credit. I never thought about it until I got ready to start looking into buying homes and, other things where credit is very important, right? And then I decided to go and fix my credit myself. So I started doing the research. And that's when I learned the rules and the laws. They'll tell you that you need an 800, which is perfect credit score, right? For I think two of the credit monitors, right? 800 is what they call A-list credit. What they don't tell you is that a person that has a 620 FICO score is entitled to the same finance rates that a person with an 800 is. So you can shoot for the 800. Right, 800 looks great, but you don't need an 800. 800 is great. That just means that you pay everything on time, ahead of time. You pay stuff off. You have the 3 revolving credit limits, lines of credit, and that's easy to get. A major credit card, a gas card, and if you're fortunate, if you finance your vehicle the right way, those are 3 major revolving lines of credit. Start point. The next thing you need to do is go back and look at all of the stupid shit you did as a young person and get that shit off your credit if it's been longer than 7 years. And in most cases, after 3 years, they'll write it off, but it stays on your credit report. So you got to know how to go and get the templates, because they're online, they're on Google, and all you have to do is copy and paste that shit in the Word format put your name in there and put the creditor's name in there and a current address and all this shit. That's all you have to do.
Yep.
Now, you also must understand that if a creditor, like most credit people understand, as long as they make contact with you, for example, what Discovery had been doing to me was about once, twice a year, they would call just to verify. They would somehow find out my address or my number, and they'd call. And once I answered that phone and say, yeah, this is who I am, or I'm going to make arrangements to pay it or whatever, because your conscience is beating you up, that 7 years starts over.
Yep. Let me take this chaos to bring it back to your topic as well, because I know you probably like, Lord, it done went off topic. If you're in government contracting, the drop shipping piece of it, when you do drop shipping contracts, and if you don't already have a factoring company or financial institution to cover those goods or materials, or a line of credit to cover those goods and materials that you're going to sell to the government, then you could rely on your personal credit. You go to your bank, and you can leverage that contract award, because you know that money is coming, with your financial institution to get the money to pay for those the material. The deal is that if your credit is in good standard, as the brother said, anywhere from between 620, 630 for them to give you that personal loan to get those materials, then you probably won't be able to do the drop shipping. And so, if you get a factory company, they're gonna charge you anywhere from 6 to 8% to use them, whereas you can use your own and still leverage it. So that's where the credit comes in. That's why we all partnered, Garfield, Sharon, and I, because if someone was getting, like, for instance, I told you we do the non-emergency medical transportation at the VA. Well, when we had one contract, it's cool. It's one contract, we already had the vehicles. When we picked up that second wheelchair contract, we needed more vehicles. So if you need more vehicles, guess what? You got to pay for them, right? So before we are in the stand that we are now with the actual car dealership, we had to rely on business loans to purchase them. Well, both of the business owners' credit was good, so they was able to purchase the vehicles. Well, now, remember I said we had 6 contracts. So now we at the point, once you get 20 vehicles, I want to say it's 20, give or take a little vehicles, now you consider of having an actual fleet. And if you get to a point where you have a fleet, you can get with a car dealer and actually purchase vehicles whenever you want within the 5-year range, that kind of thing. And so their personal credit paves the way for their business credit once we start accumulating all these contracts, whereas now they don't even have to pull out their personal credit anymore. And so when you talk in terms of government contract, you talk in terms of credit, you want to make sure that you have a decent credit score or have your credit report to a point where if you have to rely on your personal to leverage it, then you could actually use it until you build your business net worth up and you don't need to use your personal credit anymore. I just want to bring that back home for you so you don't think we was off the topic.
Who's trying that? Please, your line. I hear background noise. No, that's Alcorn.
Say it again?
All right. Okay. No, somebody had background noise. It's interfering with the show.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
It's funny with a credit score. And I have no problem with Garfield does, to be honest with you. He is helpful. One thing with the Z Black card I always have questionable because, it's not like a regular credit card with a line. You have to constantly keep paying, which is much more than average, So
yeah, now
everything else he does is pretty great.
Yeah. The Z Black card is a little different where they're going through transitions right now because they got different financial institutions that's going to back the card. But initially we got into the Z Black card. Well, I got into the Z Black card for this. Remember, let's go back to business. In home-based businesses, a lot of people don't go in, or when people start businesses, some people don't go and get a separate bank account. If you are an MLM or you're doing any type of products and services, and you're just doing it from a freelance perspective, a sole proprietor perspective, and you don't go get a business account, what people don't get is that you shouldn't commingle your money. You shouldn't mix business money with personal money. So what we did was we got the Z Black card to use it from a business perspective, because having a Z Black card is you can operate from a home-based business perspective as well. So remember, we're trying to get tax deductions based on the home-based business concept, the sole proprietor concept. We're trying to lower our taxable income. So we had the Z Black card where, because we were in my econ and selling paparazzi jewelry and freelance and stuff on the side, we was pushing all of our income money and using that card for our expenses, so that at the end of the year, when we ran our report, we didn't have to come from out of our personal account to prove business stuff. We had something for business, we had something for personal, and we didn't get charged fees. So we know when you have a regular bank account, we got service fees, you got this kind of fee, you got that kind of fee. But with the Z Black card, we didn't have that. And the Z Black card is a prepaid debit/cash rewards card. Now, what has happened in the recent months is that Mr. Charles Mason has added the trade line, but the method to that madness with that trade line, now right now, of course, none of that is operational the way they wanted to, because I think it's after the October 30th, they should have everything back in play. But there's a whole lot of other stuff going on from the trade line perspective, and that the money that you're using, it has to be used on their products and services. So I haven't gotten into the trade line portion of it, but T.R.S. Mason's objective is to own a bank, and so that's their one of their in game is to own a bank and have everything running through that. So that's why right now they had like a little standstill, but that's where that trade line and all that came in. And I think when they introduced the trade line, the financial institutions that they were going through, they started growing so fast, people getting that card, investing and all that great stuff, that it kind of got out of control a little bit, so they had to horn back in and go back to the drawing table and get different financial institutions. So that's where they are right now. And so that whole trade line piece of the Z Black card, I will hold off on that, because they have some different stuff lined up for it. As far as the prepaid debit/rewards card, is perfect for those. Remember, we started off, we were talking about government contracting, we're talking about helping people in the community, at-risk youth, folks coming out of who's been recently incarcerated, who can't get jobs because of their record, things like that. Those same individuals having a hard time with actually getting a financial institution or a bank account. So instead of getting a Walmart prepaid card or a Rush card, well, Rush is cool because it's owned by what's his name, Russell Simmons, but in their pocket, you could get the Z Black card, and you don't have all of those the fees associated with it, and you can transfer from person to person. So when I got mine, I got one for my mom, because I send her money all the time in Louisiana, and them $5 at MoneyGram and West Virginia was added up, and it used to be more before all this competition came. Remember, it used to be more for you to send money. So, and then Garfield, of course, he's operating out of country a lot. So for us to do business and transfer money to one another, it was free. Instead of going through your personal bank account, you was using a third-party payment option, and that's just pretty much what that is. And you can make money from it, because it's not an MLM. The Black Card is not an MLM. However, you could gain money from it if someone gets the card from you. But the trade line piece, I will hold on on that, because they're switching financial institutions, and so that's like at a standstill. And as a matter of fact, they put on a note that if you have it, you shouldn't be paying the monthly fee right now, because it's not in effect yet. So they were supposed to stop that monthly fee. As a matter of fact, we're not even paying a monthly fee for our card, and the only reason we were doing it, because remember, we were using it as a business. But if you could use the card as a regular card, like my mom, she used the Black card, but she don't pay a fee, but she's just using it as a regular debit card for her direct deposit. Whereas me, I'm using it from a business perspective, so it didn't matter if I was paying a fee or not. I'm writing it off. I'm going to write it off anyways. And that's going to add. Remember how we did earlier? We went through that itemized list? Well, that's one thing I would add to that for business, that kind of thing. I know, and to the credit piece, learning credit online is definitely, everything that people push out, it's available. You can find it. It's there. The difference is people don't want to read, and they don't want to find out for themselves. They would rather pay somebody else. And that's cool, too. We'll take your money accordingly. Not take it. We provide a service.
No, we're just taking a call a day, you know what I'm saying? If you can't do it, you know what I'm saying? No way, we provide a nice service. You give money to the black community, you know what I'm saying? From some respect for black people in the community to help fix your problem, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to worry about scamming and all that stupidness, and I mean, yes, they're out here, even right now with the so-called conscious lunacy, or all the shit that's going around, and it makes black people don't want to trust more black people, the ones that have sense, common sense, or even have a little knowledge of, ancient Egypt and all that good stuff. They say, I'm not going to deal with you. You're a Hotep nigga. I didn't know they came up with new terminologies. Hotep nigga. What the fuck is that? When I first heard that word, it was interesting. So, damn, you a nigga now because you say you in peace? So if I call you this nigga, I guess you don't want no peace. You want some war. But anyway. Yeah. What else to talk about? We are in overtime now. I'm trying to think. Shit. You
get your team
tonight.
You get your team. Get you a team. If you're gonna get into contracting, get you a team. Put those skill sets together. We have a mega team. Y'all only get to see a fraction of us. We got, oh my God, a skill set that we're putting together because we're trying to make sure that we're trying to do what others have been doing for years. A lot of times we go into business and we want to do it by ourselves. We got to learn how to communicate to our people and how to work together and how that, like us on the phone, we can all go towards a contract and all have our own piece of the pie. The deal is that when you do that, the funding has to come to one person, right? So somebody got to be the front line. That person has to have enough integrity to make sure that funding gets dispersed properly to the players involved. The problem is when you get into a contract, I'm going to tell you what it fell. We had a company from Texas that bid on a contract that we bid it on in Tennessee. And the guy did. Now we had a bridge contract, which means we had it for 8 years. The guy did $1 million less than we had that contract for. We already knew when the guy won the contract, and we see how much he did for it. I was like, dude, your freaking person, your darn labor, paying people is about $900,000. What are you doing? Like, who did that, right? So when the guy came in to replace us. You got to do your little lefty, righty, right. And the guy said, how many employees you have? We said 25. He said, well, I'm coming in with 10. We were like, what? There is no way you're going to be able to operate this contract with 10 people. There's no way. And so we was like, no, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. We're like, okay, cool, go ahead, do you. So, boom, we didn't win the bid, so we rolled out. Y'all, I promise y'all, 90 days later, we got a phone call. Can you please come back in and do the contract? So now, boom, the ball is on our court. We're like, hold on, we lost, right? If we come back in and do it, we're not doing no bridge. We want the contract. Because remember, we had it for years. You already know how we operate. You already know what we're going to do. But you're not going to come in and use us. Now, here's where I get, when you asked me earlier, what are some of the cons in contracting, I would be remiss if I didn't say this. When you get into the contracting world, you will have to deal with underbidders. You have to deal with litigation sometimes. You have to deal with processes. And so you have to know what you're doing, and you got to be good at it. And so this particular instance here, we go into the contract. We took the contract back, but we didn't take it from a bridge perspective. We took it from a contractual perspective. Why? Because we had enough credibility, enough past performance, and good standing evaluations to say, hey, listen, We understood we lost the bid to this company. We know the company just lost the contract because of their performance. We have a proven performance. We want a contract and not a bridge, which means we want 5 years. Give us our $5 million. We're not coming in here and do no little $200,000, $300,000 contract. You use us, and then somebody else comes in behind us, right? So that means you got to know your stuff. You got to know how to talk the contractual terms because they'll try to get you, right? So we come in, we do the work, boom, we turn it back around in 30 days. Again, we go into West Virginia. We won the contract last year, July. We won that contract 2017. The people that was there before us, which was the white contractor, they lost the contract. They got upset. They sued us and said we didn't have our compliance paperwork, right? Well, we had to get a lawyer. Then they started doing this whole racist thing, right? We didn't want to stay there because we was like, you know what? Once somebody's going to act out of character, we're going to end up losing our credibility as a company. So we had to take this, even though it was our contract, 5 years, we gave the contract back because, you know, once you get into a certain space, either one or two things, you're going to be able to eat that, and then you're going to get out of character. And you don't want to do that, so you have to think of the whole. So we gave the contract back. Guess what? A year later, who they called? They called us back. Why? Because we had proven when we went in there. So before we go, we said, hold on. The last time we was here, we had quality work. Everything was going well. Y'all was convinced. And y'all put us in a situation. We lost a lot of money for everything we came in here with. If we take this contract, what are you going to do if a contractor comes back and file a lawsuit against us? Even though we won, you know, what are you going to do? So the contractor, the person who was over the contracting officer was like, well, here's how I'm going to handle it. So our guys goes in and they're like, no, nah, that ain't good enough. We want to make sure that when we come in that we will not lose. And this means that someone else can come in here and cause havoc and cause a hostile environment amongst our people because they had gotten to the point where they had told our drivers that if they did not quit from working with us, then they would cause, I mean, we're talking about going back to what they call it, Jim Crow time frames and civil rights and all that. We was fighting for your rights. They was causing that kind of stuff. They had started asking clients to set us up, you know, things of that nature. And so we had to make sure that the contractor at that VA hospital will protect us. And so guess what? We won that case, and we went back in. So not only do you have to know business, like it's so much I know about government contracting that it's scary. So like what I try to do is, and that's why I do it for free online, I try to break it down from point A to point Z in little bits and pieces to make sure people are starting to understand what's going on. Yes, you would get $3 million, $10 million, $30 million, whatever contracts, but you got to know your stuff. You not only do you have to know the work that you're going to do, you have to know the HR side. You got to know the finance, the logistics, security, litigations. And if you don't know it, you better make sure you got those people on your team. You got to have a lawyer in your pocket, a CPA, a quality assurance person. Like, you got to have those people in your corner. If you don't know it, you got to know who to call on. And then you got to be able to stand in front of these folks sometimes and fight for what's yours. Because remember, it's not just about you and only your business. You have employees. When we lost that West Virginia, well, we didn't lose it. When we gave that West Virginia contract back, let me tell you the difference also in going into it. We deal with both white and black employees by nature of where our contracts are located. Not that we don't want to hire all black people, but guess what? When we went into West Virginia to hire, we went straight, remember I talked about this earlier, we went straight to workforce commission. Why? Because we benefit, right? We're going to get half our money back. We're going to get $1,000 per person we hire, right? Not one black person called us back on the list. So then we said, you know what, we're not going to give up on them. We went scouting through the freaking neighborhood, gas stations, fast food restaurants. Why? We know you're probably making about maybe $7, $8 an hour. We're going to give you 19. You know, not one of them came to an interview, so they forced our hand. We had to hire the white boys, right? When we hired those guys, they was like, thank you very much. This is the most I've made in my entire life. So we're sitting up there, and we're like, damn, we like, man, here's a black-owned company, we got how these white boys, people going to look at us. And we was like, at one point, what can we do, right? We'd have no issues with those folks working. We go in the mountain home, same thing. We got 25 people working the valet parking. We got 15 working the wheelchair. We may have 3 or 4 people that's black in that area. Can't help it. Our people won't come. They won't interview. We go to Memphis. All 18 are all black. Guess what? Then we got so many problems over there. I'm not talking about my people, but what I'm saying is we got to do better. We have a lot of people who are in this government contract game that look like us, that really want to help our people, but it's either one or two things. We having an issue with, doing the right thing on the job, or they won't apply. If we can fix that piece right there, you getting a contract and then you getting your own to be a quality worker, we in there. But one or two things. We making the money from the business and we can't hire our own, or our people are working and they getting cheated by the other people.
Wow. I'm astonished right now. When we talk about people that want to at least give a hand to some of our people, and I guess I can't really dump too much on our people because this is a mindset at the end of the day. And if Mr. Charlie is not reaching out the hand, most black people are not gonna go in. But let's say it's one of our own. Either two people come. Either they're gonna take the hand, take the job, or if they do take it, they're not gonna apply it to the fullest ability. They're gonna say, yo, nigga, I shouldn't give 10%. I should give my less. But when you work for white man, you give pretty much everything, your all. This is very dangerous, man. We live in very dangerous times right now.
About jobs, they're bragging on jobs and they're bragging on opportunity, and they are there. Because you heard, I think his name was Q said earlier, he's working with at-risk people.
I can't. One more time, repeat what you just said.
I said when you talk about jobs, when they talk about jobs and our unemployment rate and everything, like we talk about in our community, the reason, when people go and they talk to politicians and they talk about the state of our community in reference to jobs, a lot of times the reason we're not getting any progress or any feedback from them the way we want it to come out is because of what Q just said and what I just said. The opportunities are freaking, they're throwing the damn jobs at you. They're giving you opportunities to get credentials that you would normally get because of your already skill set. But we're not taking advantage of it. Now, is it hard in some places? Yes. We're not saying across the board everybody has the opportunity, because we know in some rural areas they don't have access to transportation or that particular opportunity. However, for the most part, though, in some of our cities where there's bus lines and trains and things of that nature where you could get to these opportunities, honey, it is available. We have to take advantage. Otherwise, they're not coming in your community and help you. If you have a workforce office in your community, they have pushed so much money down to, Department of Labor has pushed so much money down to those workforce commission office. They house it in what we call the WIO program, which is the Workforce Innovative Opportunity Act, so that they can actually help you out of your economic situation. But guess what? You got to walk through the doors and apply.
You got to apply yourself, which from your own experience, a lot of black people choose not to apply now when it comes to our own. Not in like mass, but a good portion of us, we just don't want to, It's a choice now. So when I hear this, and it makes me want to say, where is the excuse now, And most times, it's rough, but still, you have to still prevail regardless of the obstacles. Hold on, let me see somebody press they raise their hand again. Is this you, Alquan? You press one again, Alquan? I guess not. Yeah, Mocha. Wow. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I mean, I have no answer for that, to be honest with you. I have no answer. And it's funny. Tonight, even when I decided to contemplate doing this and creating this type of show, I always think, I talk about things that, people want to challenge me on. Some shit were nonsense. Some, maybe they have the right mind to really question. Okay. But when we talk about financials and things that come up in other ways, it's like anomaly. It's like it's a no-show, I mean, I know people want to listen,
cool.
but, it's like there's a mindset.
They like to say it's boring. When you talk about talking about processes and money, is people seem to think it's boring. But here's the other thing too. People cry about drama that happens on our YouTube channels and all the different platforms. But guess where they flock to? The drama. See, some stuff that we talk about, it takes time. I know on Tuesdays, I don't never have a lot of people in the chat on Tuesdays. The reason I do it because the 1 to 5 to 10 individuals who show interest are really starting to put their business together, learning and understanding what it is out there, and then are going to launch at some point their business, right? And so that's important to me. And if it is just one person that could take that information and run with it, because I could tell you when I first did this, I did it on the ground here in Columbia. I had a friend of mine always talked about business or whatever, and I got tired of him talking about business. I said, you know what, I think I can put this together for you, and I think we could go after some government contracts. And he was one of those people, I don't want that white man money. I don't want this, I don't want no government telling me what to do. And I was like, what? And I said, and he was contracting overseas. He was working for, I think, Flora at the time. So I said, okay, tell me what you're trying to do. So he told me we put together a commercial and residential cleaning company, right? So I didn't just do it normal like a regular one, right? Because I knew, remember, I worked in government, so I understood what the money was. So when he left to go contract, I said, okay. He said, okay, I'm going to trust you with my business, right? I was like, okay, cool, I get to run the business. So the first thing I do is apply for government contract. And he was amazed. He was like, how did you do it? How did you get it? I said, well, I paid attention to what I used to audit. And then I put the business together based on what they used to, what we used to look for in audits. And so I knew what needed to be in the plan based off of what the auditors were looking for. And when it came to the numbers, I remember I audited the finances, so I knew where the money should go and how you should organize it. So that's how I knew how to bid the contract or whatnot. Now, where I ran into a dilemma is that, remember, I covered the business aspect of it, but as far as controlling the employees, I was like, hey, that's y'all's job. That's not my job. I'm supposed to do the admin stuff, right? And then I found myself having to be boots on the ground with the people. So here's the other thing. When the brother was talking about being in law enforcement and coming back and training first aid and self-defense, things of that nature, what I had to do was, when he told me, okay, Mo, you're going to have to control the employees because I'm over in Afghanistan. I can't do the employees and be in Afghanistan. And I'm like, damn, I didn't want to do that part of it. So I had to start thinking. I had to think quick on my, because I'm retired Army. And I actually used to have at least 15 to 20 soldiers under me because of my rank, right? I had to think all the way back to like, okay, what do I do? How do I really manage these people? And it got to a point where I had to literally do uniform check, come behind them and do cleanliness check, make sure that they was doing things properly. I had to create a checklist and make them sign and say they clean here and clean there. So when I went back and troubleshoot, I could find out who did what, when did they do it. Like, you literally have to do business. And I think that people just think of business of buying and selling products. That's not it. You have to, when people wanted to take leave, I had to make sure that people were scheduled properly so we can have the proper people on board, Then I had to make sure that when they did come, it's just so much was involved. And I was like, oh, my goodness. So I realized at that point, okay, we can't do this by ourselves. We need to hire some more people, and we're going to need to hire a team lead on the ground. You know what I'm saying? So when you really start getting into it, everybody wants to make these millions in these contracts, and they are available, and they are readily available for you to make. But keep in mind, you have to think of business from a overall perspective. You can't. So there's the compliance piece of it, the administrative piece of it. Then there's the human capital piece of it, where you got to control and manage people, right? There's a customer service piece of it. Then it's not just you to the customer from the business side. It's you to your employees, right? Then you got your quality assurance side of it. You got to make sure your equipment stays clean. You got to make sure that, that you're buying things at a timely manner. You're not running out, your products on time. You got to make sure that the environment. So in the cleanliness side, they threw a monkey wrench at us. They went from being scented to unscented because some of the employees was allergic. Oh, my goodness. So guess what? I didn't do my homework on the product, right? The MDSD number, where you go, you got to figure out what you got to do, how much chemical should be what. So I was up here trying to figure all this stuff out, and then I remembered, guess what? At the same time, I was still working for the state. So I went to the cleaning lady, a black lady. I said, hey, tell me about how y'all go about ordering these products and what means what. And so she schooled me. And when she schooled me, boom, I schooled the company owner. There it is.
Okay. I got a caller. Somebody raised their hand. I'm going to take your call in a second, Q. Let me see who this is. Wait. All once. May I ask who's speaking? All one? All one's going once? All one's going twice?
Okay, yeah, what's up? This sucks.
Okay, hold on. All facts. What's up, Alfax? You have any questions, comments tonight?
No, I enjoyed the show. That's all I want to say.
One second. All ones? Who's this?
Hey, what's going on, man? JNYC.
All right, JNYC. What, some sports going on tonight? That's why everybody now calling in?
Fuck sports, Gary. I don't give a fuck about no sports. You know that.
Okay. Yes, I know. All right. You have no questions? Jay?
Yeah. Go ahead, all facts, and then I'll say what I got to say.
No, all facts is just listening. Go ahead, Jay. Go ahead.
Do you want to say something, all facts?
No. You just listen.
Go ahead. All right. Now I wanted to ask the sister just to clarify. You was talking getting a loan versus getting some type of credit. Can you fill that in? Credit what?
Line of credit.
Right. So yeah. I mean, I think that information is important for people to know. And you sharing your experience in regards to trying to, people to empower themselves and not to put themselves in debt or prolong their I guess you want to say financial success or their financial progress with timing versus, all the kind of obstacles that they put, but then again, all the incentives that are out there if you know the information and how the structure is to utilizing it to your benefit. So, yeah, definitely, I definitely agree that there's, what you said, and loopholes and utilizing even what, yes, Donald Trump, that, people have their issues with him, but this is the law that's been implemented, and people put this in for those that can benefit off of it, and if you know how to do it, do it. So it's unfortunate, though, that a lot of our people don't get that information or don't have sometimes the chance to do certain things to get it like that because they get caught up in the debt for whatever reason, not saying that it's their fault or not their fault, just, the obstacles that you have and more than others in trying to figure out, later on that you were able to do this, but because you already you owe taxes or you owe your credit cards, you got to go through what you got to go through. So yeah, I definitely appreciate you giving some of that information.
Phenomenal. And yeah, so you got most times when people go into business, they say, oh, I want to can you write a business plan so I can get a business loan? Well, the reason we talk about the line of credit, because, the loan, if you go get a $20,000 loan, you're gonna get that $20,000 loan, plus you're going to pay interest, right? And that you're going to pay on until you pay it off. Or if you get a $20,000 line of credit, and you pay that $20,000 off, guess what? You can still go at it again because you still have it. It's a line of credit. It's revolving.
Right.
You finish the loan, that's a done deal. You're going to have to go and get another loan, and hopefully you did the right thing and you didn't screw up so you could get another loan. So we advocate for the line of credit, and a lot of times the line of credit, you get your personal credit order first, and then you go after the line of credit.
Yeah. What kind of say something?
Say it again.
Yeah, I wanted to say something. Well, I enjoyed the show because you're not, you're giving out information. You're not personally attacking a person's situation or what have you, and I really enjoyed it. I just want to add to what you're saying. You're right. The line of credit is good. You're going to have some type of collateral on the line of credit, similar to a home equity. And one thing about a line of credit, you got to worry about two things. Is it variable rate or fixed rate? On that line of credit, let's say if I take $25,000, I don't have to take it all at once. I can take $5,000 here, and if it's a variable interest rate, that means when I take $5,000 out of that 25, if the interest rate is 5%, I'll pay 5%. If I go again and I take another 5, if it's 8%, I pay only 8% on that. But if it's a fixed rate and they give you the loan for 25 and it's 12%, it stays like that no matter how long you use it. So sometimes variable rate is pretty good, and line of credit you're more flexible with it because you don't have to take all of it at one time. So, I mean, that's all I just wanted to add to what you were saying. And I appreciate you coming on. Thanks. That's it.
Hey, much love, and definitely. And see, this is why we like group thinking and the teamwork, because, the concept goes out and someone else got it and they say, oh, wait, let me add this to it because that adds more value to it, and it's great. And so for me, instead of saying, oh, you trying to take my side and do something, and try to combat it another way, I'm like, shoot, thank you, because I ain't thinking about putting that part out, high five. And so we create a team. That's what, we have a concept, 2017, get your team 2017, and then 2018 came train your team in 2018. Because once we've already showed you or told you about what you need to do, now if you go in training mode, and training is so important and bringing out all of those details, and it takes time. And that's why I don't have time for personal tax, and I definitely try to stay away from personal tax because it's so much information to put out to govern business and personal finances in general. There ain't no time for no personal tax. There ain't no time to be wasting on that. Now, I engage in it. Most people probably say, well, you sit on the panels all the time. I do, because everyday life is filled with some type of drama, and I can learn from both sides of the dramatic spectrum, right? But in hindsight, I do my very best to stick to business and give out as much info as possible, because we definitely need to know it. And if we could, most people are like, what the government is doing. From the government contract perspective, the only portion we're concerned about what the government is doing is how much they're giving their contract for, and did they change the goalposts as far as the foreign regulation is concerned, and how is that going to affect us as far as taxes and concerned? Can we benefit from it or can we not? When it comes, but when it comes to community things, like I'm trying to get involved, I'm not getting involved personally, but I have friends that want to get involved in government, mayors and city councilmen and things like that. And when they go to the table, they always talking about, well, my community need this and my community need that. And I'm like, listen, they just put $176 million in infrastructure.
Monika, you're breaking up.
What?
Talk close to the mic, please.
Okay. I was like, listen, they just put $176 million in infrastructure contracts in your community. Why is you in a council meeting asking them for what they're gonna do for this or what they're gonna do for that as far as schools? No, you need to be asking them, hey, who is the primary contractors that's coming into our community? Because if you put $176 million in my community, guess what? A business in this community needs to be, if they're not the prime based on their eligibilities and credentials as a company, then they need to be subcontractors on this contract. I'm like, we have to learn when these people are going up for government, this is what you need to ask. You need to be pulling up their budget. It's public knowledge. You need to find out how much contract money is filtering down from the feds into your cities, and then find out what businesses in your areas are on this contract. Case in point, when Katrina hit Louisiana, the state was upset because most of the companies that came in to help in the Katrina situation came from other locations, came from out of country. Why? It's their fault. Why? Because the business owners didn't understand that in order for you to obtain that government contract, you not only needed to have the Secretary of State articles of corporation and your EIN, you also needed a DUNS number and a SAM. That's why when President Trump tried to go down to Puerto Rico, not Trump, I'm sorry, that's not where I want to go with that conversation. When the hurricane hit Puerto Rico and the government was telling people, well, in order for you to come in, you have to have your SAMs and your DUNS to do the business, the general on the ground said, we don't have time for this. Can you just give them the contract? And the government said no. So guess where contractors came from? Other freaking countries. And they come in and they take all our money. Why? Because our people are not educated. That we look at it like, okay, yes, we lost lives. I got it. I understand, yes. But guess what? Every time a disaster hits, it's opportunity for businesses, for small businesses to make money. So when they're not listening to you cry about your schools not having resources, guess what? They're saying, well, we're putting opportunities in your areas. Y'all are not applying for the contract.
Right. She's right about that. Right about that.
Interesting.
And can I just add to what you're saying? Just add to what you're saying. Articles of incorporation is very important. When you open a business account, most banks, some banks, I'm not going to say most, but they want to see the articles of incorporation. You got to have who's the president, who's the vice president, who's the secretary, who's the treasury, and what your business is about. That's articles of incorporation, basically setting up your process. And a lot of people just don't have that. And it's just a form that you fill out, and that's just what they want to see. Articles of incorporation that you have in your business. And then a bank will go ahead and copy it and file it, and then you can go just like what she's saying. But if you don't have that small paperwork, it's a lot of things that you can't do. So
and I'm gonna take you a step further. Because our people have gotten in, some people have gotten into a little business, they'll stretch your knowledge a little further. They'll ask you for minutes. Many people that own small businesses don't do minutes. I would encourage you at least once a year, because this is probably the most predominant time, for you to do at least one set of minutes per year, and that's after you file your taxes. You can document how much you made in the company, if there were any significant changes in or maybe some significant things that happen in your company, and document those corporate minutes, and you could go there. They will also ask you for an operations agreement, which parallels to what the brother just said, that has how your business operates. And so that's why when I do businesses, when people to set up the businesses, I make sure I throw that in for especially my brothers, because most of the time people that come to these always guys. More guys than females, to throw it in, because when you start going the government contracting route, these are little things they throw in there that they know we don't normally do. So we're coming in with our articles of incorporation, our EIN document, we may even done our little taxes or whatever. But then they'll start asking you, do you have an operations agreement? Do you have a capability statement? Do you have a do you do corporate minutes, things of that nature? So if they want to wean you out, that's the little things, and that's why it's very, very, very important that when you going through, you can, and all of this, like we said, it's public knowledge. You can go on the SBA right now. There's free classes on the SBA website. They will train you on everything you need to know in reference to government contracts. The difference between going and get it and just studying and actually getting that think tank with people on the ground doing it is that the places that they will troubleshoot you on, we understand because we do it. Whereas you would get the textbook answer and then you'll go and do something and they'll try to stop you in your tracks. And so a lot of I have a friend right now, he just got his PhD, and he spoke at a seminar, and the Minority Business Affairs came up to him and told him about the certification. Now, I had just told the little knucklehead that if you're going to get a certification, you need to come see me. So as soon as he goes, he said, Mom, I'm about to get, my certification. I'm going to this people. And I said, now, he just started that business, so they getting ready to do something crooked. So he says, I'm going to go get the guy about to hook me up with my certification. I'm like, you can't get a certification unless you've been in business for a year. He says, well, so he wouldn't tell me. I already knew what it did. He had a business he started before. Only thing they did was change the name. That's called using a chef corporation, which is cool. That's no big deal. He did that. So I said, well, why did you do that certification, the minority certification? You should have did the DBE certification because it grandfathers you in the state of South Carolina. No, they told me to do the MBE. Okay, cool, do you? Then he comes back. He says, man, I need your help. I should have did that DBE first and this. Now I missed opportunity. I tried to tell you. Oh, my God. Like, listen, y'all, I have gotten into this thing. The reason I know what I know is because I go and I sit into the federal contracting conferences, and I just listen. And I listen to what we're not doing and what we need to do, because most people, like we said, most people are not going to sit in on these things because they think it's boring. So what I had to do, I had to build a tolerance for the boredom and say to myself, this is not bored. Your people need this. And the people who are in business can benefit if you learn it, and they listen to you, then you can win. And sure enough, and it took I got about maybe 8 business owners here in the Columbia area that entrusted me with that information. And from one point to the other, all of them have at least the transportation side got the most contracts, but everybody else at least have 1 or 2. I had one girl, she had 16, but she got the 16 contracts because she used a different method to doing it, which I don't recommend. I don't do the underbidding route because you can get into some financial situations with it. However, she took all the training. She consults me all the time. We're really good friends, and they stay on the grind. The only difference between hers and ours is that we make our contracts are more money than hers, but she does some cleaning stuff, and they stretch themselves thin, whereas I'm smart. I'm going to pay people, and I'm going to go use the people like I just told y'all. I'm going to go to the social services because they're going to give me half of my money back, and I'm going to get a $1,000 tax cut per person, and I'm going to go to the workforce office, and I'm going to get the same thing. So it's a win-win situation for us.
Excellent. Very excellent.
I'm sorry. We could be here all night, so you might want to get...
No. Well, I'm going to say this. Anybody else have any questions that calls in right now? Okay, I guess everybody got their questions answered.
Well, I had more. Okay. I had more of a comment than I did a question, because she was talking about how, and I know this is not to go back, but she was talking about how when she went down to West Virginia, and how none of our people showed up to take advantage of what was being offered, right? And that's a problem within our community. You said the same thing when you went to Memphis. You were having issues with employees not wanting to do the right thing.
Mountain Home.
Mountain Home.
We got
them. Mountain Home.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is indicative of the understanding that we as black people have to get to. We have to understand that we need to take advantage of these opportunities that are presented from us. So how do we do that? That comes with a change of thinking. You have to change the mindset of our people, because we go into these situations with, okay, I'm going to get over. I know I'm supposed to work 8 hours, but I'm going to go ahead and do as less as I possibly can do. And I'm glad you said that, because I've said that on different platforms And then they say, well, you a coon. You a coon. Black people want to work. Well, I'm telling you that I know people that work in a program that I work with for these kids, and their whole thing is, I'm just going to do, the bare minimum and get this and draw and just get here and get this bag, get this check, because they don't want to put forth the effort to learn, to better themselves so that they can be a positive person within the community. Not only that, to share the information with those that are coming behind us. So it's definitely a mind. We have to change the mindset of our people. I just wanted to add that. I know I went back to the conversation you had made because I was listening, instinctively heard you say that, and I was like, wow, why wouldn't people want to go and take advantage of getting paid $19 an hour versus, minimum wage? It's crazy.
Yes. We also have the call center opportunity, which anybody can do at any time. We have the opportunity to hire people to work from home. And we opened a call center. I had 10 computers, 10 internet lines, telephone lines, or whatever, and offered to people, I would train you. If you work for us for 6 months, I would train you how to do this for yourself. So in the process of you working for us, and I'm teaching you how to do this on your own, so you could go into your neighborhood and people will work for you. But if I come into your neighborhood, they may not work for me, even though we all look the same. They may not work for me because they don't know me. So you can have this same opportunity. People just don't. They just don't want it. Like you said, they just want to do the bare minimum. And so when we talk about community development, uplifting our community, getting our community out of this situation, nation building, honey, if somebody can give me the tools to get people to want to do it, man, we can really change some economic situations. I promise you. But that's what we're hurting right now. We're hurting on effort, not on opportunity and resources. We're hurting on effort. People taking initiative, putting forth the effort just to actually show up and want to do something different, and it's not happening. And so what I was doing, one of the reasons I didn't finish my dissertation, because that's what I was wanting to study. I was trying to figure out, we have all of these alternative schools and programs to help advance the students or to motivate them, whatever they put them in place to do, right, as an alternative options to high school. And there was no progress. There was no results. That there were bare minimum results. Why? What's the problem? I don't understand what's going on. I'm still going to do the research, but I'm under as far as training right now, going through the training, because I really want to narrow this down. Because if we can do that, we can make the change. But if not, I don't care how many resources the government put out on anybody else, any basketball player or celebrity or whatever, come back in the community to do. If we give them the resources, they don't do nothing with it, we're back in the same situation. Can't blame gentrification.
Yep. That's
you
what
are
happened.
correct. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, bro.
All right. This is what I'm going to do, because we are now going to got not much time left on this show. Mo, I'd like to appreciate you calling in. I appreciate you as a guest tonight with this information. And, I know you want to bring Cheryl in, your partner in crime, but like I said, like any soldier, so we got to go solo one time. Just one time. You know what I'm saying? I know most people don't want to go solo, but I have done the solo thing enough times, and trust me, it is not an easy thing, I tell you. But, for the sake of seriousness and what you made reason on a previous video, I said it had to be that. It was time for it, And I hope that people take this information to heart. I hope it was helpful. I hope they learn. They also got a pen and paper and maybe go and apply it. Or, go to, the links that Eva share. And matter of fact, can you share links right now for people to, find what you're doing?
Yeah. So every Tuesday at 6 o'clock on the Brother Garfield Live, I teach on contract budgets, grant budgets and proposals, and I do a little searching for some, and I'll walk you all the way through. So I think I just finished my fourth week, and I'll start all over. Normally what happens is I actually we'll look for the grant or the contract, and then we'll take it from beginning to end, how to put the proposal together, what documentation you should have, and how to price it out from an estimate perspective. So I do that on Thursdays at Garfield, and then on my Facebook page, which is my name, Monika, and it's Monika, last name Lamb, I'll go live, and I'll every now and then I'll share some information. And I have my own channel. Sometimes I put the videos on there, sometimes not. But most of the time, and Wednesdays, what I will do is Garfield, I think he's doing some radio shows. So on Wednesdays, I've been doing the show, and I've been trying to interview some people. So I do it at 6 to 7 as well on Brother Garfield Live channel. And I'll bring different people in pertaining to contracts or whatnot. So, yeah. A lot of times I'm not, I don't have other areas to do the live shows on because I'm also doing business on the ground. Remember, we're doing the classes for the reentry folks, doing the GED classes and things of that nature. So, and then I'm also doing business payroll and things like that for other people, and then bidding on contracts. So what I did now is I narrowed my time, and on Tuesdays I make time for the world, so to speak, and I just kind of open it up, and I just share what I think people need to know, and I do it repetitively, and I do it from a different perspective. So every time I do it, so if I do contracts for 4 weeks, then I come back and I do grants, or I'll mix it up. And the websites, I share all the government websites and a lot of the changes to the website. So if you're involved in contracts right now, you would know that all of the government contracts, all of the government sites have changed. Federal sites have changed. You have to have PIN numbers now every time you log in, or you have to send in some type of notarized letter or, something of that nature. So I try to make sure that the people stay up on it, the changes that are going on. So, and I'm doing it on Tuesdays, and I've been doing that for, I think it's been 2 years now. We used to do live on Sinetta. We used to do the Urban Economic Power Show on Wednesdays on Sinetta, and I was still doing the Tuesdays, and then we switched it to Dagger Squad, and then we switched it to Brother Garfield Live. So Garfield's going to go back to Dagger Squad channel, and then I'm going to do the economic stuff on the Brother Garfield Live channel. So we're going to split it up, so he could do all this little debating that he does.
I see. And his channel was their flag, right?
Yeah, if you want to email. Yeah, it got flagged because we on Jamaican Independence Day, we were playing music, Jamaican music, cutting up, and we looked again and they shut it down. Because you're not supposed to play people's music, and they flagged it for 90 days, but it'll be back up in November. And so if anybody wants to email me or anything like that, they can email TriCityZ, that's TRICITYZ, at gmail.com. You can inbox me on Facebook. And then my business line number is 803-814-5490. It's 803-814-5490. And so the best method to get at me is not to call, to text it, or to email me, because, as I stated, if I'm not in some kind of council meeting or something of that nature, I'm always doing something. I'll email, text you back, or whatnot. I always try to make sure I communicate with the people. So depending on the type of services, if it's something I can't do, I would definitely get you with somebody else who can. So.
Okay. And I guess there was, tonight's broadcast people enjoyed. And, maybe I will have to bring it back, and we will bring Cheryl because she has expertise as well. So probably down the line, maybe in 2019, I'll have you back and with you and Cheryl at the same time. And probably Cheryl might bring her guest station, or, I could probably contact her personally, because, I like to bring one woman from one expertise to the other that brings another element, and we're just going to chop it up like always,
Yes. And Cheryl, the reason I said Cheryl, because Cheryl, all she does all day is search contracts and grants. That's all she does. And she has her own as well. And so we kind of complement each other on information, and even when we go after contracts, we share contracts. So it's a lot of things of course I did not say, but there's a lot of things that we all do together, and so I would encourage anyone, if they get in the contracts, that they find a buddy or a friend who also wants to, and then they could tackle it from the team perspective, because it's important to have a team, because it could get massive. You're talking about millions of dollars. You can't control that by yourself. You can control your bank account and distribute out, but you need help.
Okay. All right.
Oh, and thanks to all the brothers. Thanks to all the brothers. Gotta say that. Thank you for having me on. Greatly appreciate it. Mm-hmm.
Yes, man. And like always, share the video, share the blog talk, whatever you may, you know what I'm saying? And like always, you could probably share this on the, I don't know, maybe. But like I said, at the end of it, I'll give you all the links at the end of the show. All right, Mocha?
Yeah, because I see you be all over the place.
All right. Until then, and thank you again for your time and energy, and thank everybody that listened tonight. Tune in next time. You're gonna find just tune in. Y'all gonna like this. That's all I gotta say. Until then, this is the Chaos Reign, the Chaos Reign. Good night now.
Peace.
Another classic recording with my special guest, Monika Lamb. And like always, comment, subscribe, and like this video. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at ChaosReign7. Thank you listening for another classic upload stream back in 2018 dealing with contracts. And hope to hear from you soon. Till next time, let the chaos reign.